Red alert!
How is everybody doing tonight? Happy March 13th, Phoenix Lights Day. It's March 13th, 2025. 28 years ago, I guess, is the anniversary here of this massive sighting. So thanks for joining the podcast tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun. I had a pre-show going. The sunset was just so beautiful. I thought, man, I want to turn this on and let you guys take a look and see what we were seeing, because I was sitting outside and there was this rainbow. I was checking like the damage because we don't have storms here too often. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, because I have that hole that I'm digging, the money pit where the radar. And anyway, I want to see if that turned into a bathtub yet. So I was back there and I was glad all that concrete that's sitting around waiting to be poured didn't get wet. And I saw this rainbow and I thought, oh, wow. And I thought, I want to turn the cameras on. And it's just awesome. So how is everybody doing tonight? We got Dan Starsky here. I'm sure he just went through everybody's property. We could use the rain. We went outside, and Rhonda, who's not feeling good tonight, she kind of has ups and downs with what she's going through. So I hope she's doing better. She goes, hey, what's the ladder doing? I'm like, what? And I look in the pull, and the extension ladder that I used to get up on the roof had blown over. And it's like, it's fiberglass one. So that's the second time this has happened. So that's kind of cool. We're going to see a lot of videos tonight. One of the plans was to have some of our Skywatching team out on different locations, and then they can call in remotely. But since we have all these rolling storms going through, I think Clive Christopher is going to join us a little bit later. He's a witness to the Phoenix Lights. He's made some movies about it. Quite a few people around here know who he is. 13th, I don't know, man. It would be great if something showed up with this system. But it's good to have you guys here tonight. I don't know what anybody else is doing out there podcasting. This is the real deal here, live from the source. So we'll go through quite a bit of videos of witnesses. So I'm going to do a little bit of a rundown on what gear is up here and going right now.
The next witness we're going to hear, Dan, saw the object roughly.
Looks like that launched a little bit early. So we have the radar here. That's an ongoing situation. God, that's a whole nother deal right there. We got flight radar up of wherever the air traffic is. So this would be cool if we had flight radar back on March 13th and we had technology like this. And then we could, just rewind the next day and go to, 8:30 and look at all the air traffic and see each plane and go, okay, these ones in this area were in the vicinity at the time, and so on, and be able to click on them and find out, who that is, find Kirk Russell's flight path. If something like that were to happen today in a more modernized society, there's such a big digital footprint that it would leave. It's amazing. It's a matter of time until something like that happens. And then on top of that, we're also going to be looking at where the boomerang originated from. And I'm going to get you into a bit of a backstory on that. So let's move around. Audio's good. Hit some. Oh, wow. BP, thanks. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. Let's see what's going on. Thanks so much for your support. I know the wife really appreciates it. And yeah, so does the whole in the backyard. Interesting drama about the radar, but we're going to get into that at another time because I got a full show. I'm going to at least 10 o'clock tonight. So thank you very much, BP, for that super chat. So back to here on the NVR, we have that one up and running. We have flight radar up and running. We have a couple of cosmic watches that are going. So yeah, we had a spike just around the time we were skywatching earlier. We also got UFODAP up and running. Let me tell you a little bit about this. This camera here, this is the newer one that I got back. This one has water inside of it. So it's got condensation inside the camera. And that's cool. I mean, that happens. I'm not going to complain because, like hell, if you were living in a place where it snows, I don't know what would happen if the freaking dome would break and freeze or what. So anyway, and there's one right there. All right, it'll be just a second. I think it was this one. If it's not, it's the other computer. Might have it on this one too. But anyway, inside of that camera, I went to the controls and turned on the defogger. And I aimed it kind of at where the bubbles were. Because the only way to fix that is to remove the camera top and wipe it and then bolt it back down. And you might have these cameras bolted wherever your Skywatch stuff is in really bad spots. And it's like, oh shit, I can't do that on a daily basis. So I was using the built-in defogger. So I'll give you a review on that. I'm not sure if it's a sugar pill type of thing, but where I aimed the camera, some of the condensation of the water kind of went away. But then again, the sun was kind of there. So I don't know. Then I aimed it at another area because I think where you aim the camera, inside sometimes there's a spinning fan. So maybe that directs whatever it is they use for defogging inside of that. This is the first time I've had an issue in years and years and years with all of this various gear of defogging. So yeah, broken pipes. It's probably freezing where some of you guys are. Isn't there a blood moon out tonight? We might find out. We might be finding out. Yeah, Tucson's weird. Tucson used to be a desert, and I drive down there, and it's like an oasis. It's like driving to Kauai or something like that. But anyway, there's condensation on that camera, and then another one. Now, check out this thermal here. We're looking at the thermal NVR. And look at the top screen up here. You see how it's all murky? And this one, it's clear. And this one, it's murky. What is it? That's because there's condensation inside of that camera. So I'm not sure. So you can see it, and I've been pointing it in the direction of the sun to see if it would warm it up and it would fix itself. But it's been a few days, and then we have another storm. So I don't know. So do you guys have these problems of fogging in your cameras, in your dome cameras? And I mean, I got a lot of cameras, so I guess a 2 isn't that bad, but yeah, this one, I think I might just take it down after the rain gets over. You have to do maintenance. All this stuff is consumables. So yeah, anyway, we got that up and running. Yeah, and then we got the UFODAP, which was kind of running, but yeah, this is the one I had to defog to. Not running the droid tonight. So anyway, yeah, on March 13th, let me tell you how I got involved in that. Back in this day, around this time, I would have been at the Village Labs. What happened is I got off work around 2. I did construction work, and we had answering machines back then. So yeah, listen, Bill said, "Hey Tom, give me a call." So I called him up, and he mentioned that there's this guy named Steve Blonder, and he's looking for some UFO people to come over to his house and tell him what he's looking at. That he was reporting he was seeing these orange lights from his house Monday, and then Tuesday I think he got online and looked it up, and then by Wednesday people said, well, on the mailing service they use, UFO Roundup, or no, UFO Updates, they said get a hold of Bill. So by the time they got a hold of them, it was Thursday. So he said, take your cameras, get your stuff, meet me at Village Labs. So we met over there. Same, you guys heard the story. Stephen Greer was there. We went out Village Inn. Anyway, and then we go over to Steve Blonder's house, and yeah, I remember Bill in the car. My wife had the sunroof open, and the weather outside's beautiful, just like it is tonight. And he's like, "Man, I love field investigations. You know, getting out of the house, going to somebody else's house, and then the rarity is that they're promising something's going to show up." I don't think I've ever had anything like that happen again. I mean, I've had people say you're going to come out and see a UFO, and then nothing happens. But yeah, that's how I got involved with it. And then so anyway, we pull up to Steve Blonder's house. I think it was about a little after 9, or just before 9. And he's like, "Oh, you're late." And there were people going in and out of his house, and it's a really nice area now with Tukey. So we meet him, and he shows us the videos he shot. And I asked him, where did you shoot it? And we go on the balcony. And he already had recorded 1 or 2 events already that night. So I came to his house and asked him, where are you seeing this from? And he goes, come out the balcony. And then it was just a couple of minutes later, one of his neighbors goes, "There's one." And I look, and I'm like, yeah, that's weird. That's weird. That doesn't belong here. Hadn't seen anything like that before. It was a very orange amber light, just a single one. Ran down to the Civic, opened the trunk, got my camera gear out. All right, so I was pumped. So adrenaline's going. Got the camera. So you guys seen the video, showed it last week. And that's what we filmed. And I tried to have my wife film it while I looked at it. And I looked at it just briefly through this telescope. And I still have it, by the way. And I think it would have been maybe 25 power. I think it was a 500 millimeter telescope with a doubler, and then I can't remember what the eyepiece I had. But it could ID planes way far away. It was of the time like the P1000 for ID and stuff. So I saw it, the orange thing, didn't see any smoke, didn't see anything, and it was directly south of us. So that wasn't where the Goldwater Ranch is at all. And then pretty soon, the whole thing unfolded. And yeah, you guys seen the video of that. But we're going to go through a lot of the stuff, some videos you guys haven't seen before. So if you have your mind made up, maybe it'll be changed tonight one way or the other. Hopefully you're going to learn something. Every podcast or any half ton of dirt I dig up, I'm learning something. So yeah, we're going to start off with what happens at 8. We're going to go to up to Paulden. That's where the first recordings came into Peter Davenport. You know, Peter Davenport, God bless this man. Where would ufology be without Peter Davenport? Just imagine if he said F it and didn't do the National UFO Reporting Center and we went without. Would anybody step up to fill that void? No, I don't think so. So I wonder what other voids are out there that need to be filled like he has. Him and Stanton Friedman and people like that should have like lifetime achievement awards for dedicating pretty much their whole life to the science of ufology to try and figure out what this is. Some people are calling, trying to rebadge people who do this as influencers, UFO influencers. I think that's an insult. I met Stanton Friedman. I had the opportunity to meet him, and I think he would take it as an insult if you called him an influencer. Stanton Friedman was a researcher, and there's a lot of good ones out there. So maybe, I don't know what an influencer really is. Man, put your stuff in the chat. Let's hear what you got to say. Let's get into where this started. It's going to be up at Paulden. So this almost was called the. Excuse me, I'm going to switch a live camera for a second. Kind of. It's getting real windy. Just a second. Sorry about that. I was losing my voice, so I came hauls to the rescue. Hauls to the excuse me, rescue. Hey, Andy just dropped in. Oh my God, John, thank you so much for that. Excuse me, $5 super chat. This was almost called the Las Vegas Lights. It could have been, and here's why. Because March 12th, 1999, this happened. It was reported at the National UFO Reporting Center, and it's in their database that you can look up. And they saw 2 boomerangs at about 7:50 that left the Henderson area, and then they were heading south. The next night, it happened again. I think they were saying that you could see the city lights on the bottom of these things, but they're 2 large boomerangs. So that piqued my interest that I noticed studying these boomerangs for a very long time. They travel in pairs for some reason. So there's one, there's often a second one. And so anyway, nobody in Vegas filmed this. And so not only did we only have one video of the entire event from Phoenix, but nothing from Vegas. 2 nights in a row. Shit, that's a huge town. Think about all the surveillance cameras on the casinos. If only they knew and they were alerted and people could get their hands on that, there would be videos from that. But so anyway, it left there about 7:50, and then the first call that came into the National UFO Reporting Center was from Danny's retired police officer of 17 years. He has a very, very sober testimony of it. So this was when he was on the Jeff Rentz show. and Peter Davenport interviewed them. So we're going to move to Dan right now.
The next witness we're going to hear, Dan, saw the object roughly, I estimate, perhaps 30 seconds or a minute after Dennis had his sighting. Again, I'm basing this statement on my presumption that they saw the same object, and that may not be the case. We may be dealing, in fact, we investigators are quite sure that there were several objects over Arizona that night. I happen to not know how many there were. Other investigators may be more sure on that point. But with that, why don't we go to our next, I was going to say victim, our next guest, and just throw the table open to him.
Good.
And allow him to tell his story of where he was, what he was doing, and what he saw, and what the object did.
All right. Welcome to the program, Dan. Hi.
Hi.
Good evening, Dan.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on tonight.
No problem.
Does it seem like 5 years ago already?
Yeah, I basically tried to forget about this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tell you the truth.
We're in trouble now, Peter.
No, that's okay. Should I just go ahead and tell you what happened?
Please do.
Okay. Well, I live in Dewey, Arizona. It's approximately 5 to 6 miles from Prescott Valley, Arizona. And we were going to go bowling that night. I had my children and a friend, 2 friends actually, with me in the car. We were heading north on Highway 69, and we saw some lights off in the distance to the right-hand side of the road, and we weren't sure what they were. We thought maybe they were a building was being erected in that area up there, but we noticed after looking more that these things were starting to move, and we knew there wasn't anything really over in that direction other than that building, so I told the driver to speed up. We'd go find out what this thing was. And as we got closer, we could see these things better. We sped up and we slid into this shopping center in Prescott Valley, Arizona. And as we got out, it was a V-shaped object. It had 5 lights, and it came over the top of us, probably 1,000, 1,200 feet in the air, fairly slow. It crossed over the top of the shopping center, and this thing was as big as a Safeway supermarket, so this thing was huge. It crossed the shopping center over our heads, went across the street, veered toward Phoenix, and got after it in a big way. And I mean, it moved probably, 35, 40 miles in just a few seconds.
Dan now, who saw an item that was as big as a Safeway supermarket. Now, let's do the arm's length thing, Dan, if you would. When you looked up and saw this,
He may be gone, Jeff. We had some interference some serious interference on the line during the break, but perhaps the engineer, if he's monitoring, can get him back on the line.
Are we reconnected? All right, we're pulling him up right now, so he'll be back in just a few moments. I want to get that perspective again. Safeway supermarket, that's huge. How high was it? Higher it goes, the smaller it gets. Again, this is a V-shaped object. Is this Sue's craft, do we think?
I believe so, but at this stage, while we're getting Dan back on the line, let me throw out this little tidbit, Jeff. Sue's object was like a chevron. I think that's probably the best term.
Okay.
It had a notch out of the back. It looked like a boomerang with squared-off wingtips or squared-off tips. There was another object that was reported by many, many people and thoroughly investigated that looked more like an isosceles triangle with a square back, that is a straight line on the back. And this is what, in part, makes many of us investigators think that we're not dealing with just one object, 1 to 2 miles in width, that was able to fly at supersonic speeds, hover, and accelerate at a blistering pace, unimaginable pace. We're dealing with 2 or more. There was also a gigantic disk reported by at least one witness who saw it streaking from east to west over Phoenix that night. There were also fireballs the next night. We are talking about a potpourri of ufological events, I believe, that took place over the course of an estimated 1 to 2 hours that stretched from Henderson. They streaked down to Phoenix. They went down to Tucson and many, many other parts of Arizona. Probably these objects, one or more of them, was reported from probably 30 towns or cities across Arizona. This isn't just a little glimmering light in the distance.
Right.
We're talking about a mass event, and that's the reason 5 years after it, we're focusing on it again tonight.
All right, we have Dan back. All right, Dan, if you look up and this item is overhead, as big as a Safeway supermarket, if you were to hold something in your hand or hands, how big would it be now?
You'd be holding your hand up and looking at a Safeway supermarket. That's how big it would be.
Excuse me, Jeff, hold up your fist at arm's length, if you would.
You held your fist up at arm's length, you look at your fist, and then you look at the Safeway supermarket.
Uh-huh.
It was that big.
So the object you saw was about as big as your fist, held at arm's length with one eye closed.
Yeah, I have a telescope. I deal with that kind of stuff. I mess around with that kind of stuff. This was close. This wasn't far away.
Yeah.
We were on top of it, and I was so excited. I went to the bowling alley, and I called our airport. They said they didn't see anything or have anything on radar. They gave me Luke Air Force Base's number. I called them, and they didn't know anything about it, and they gave me your telephone number, and then I called you.
Yeah. They claimed not to know anything about it. They also claimed that nobody had called them that night, not anybody.
I have the receipt of my phone bill with the number on there, so I know that I did call, and I have proof of it. So, and I called KPHO News. I called everywhere I could call because I was really excited.
How were you greeted at KPHO News? What did they say?
No big deal. No big deal. They just took the information, didn't really go to any extremes to talk to me, and that was that.
How did that increase your confidence in the reliability of these so-called local news?
I saw it in the paper the next day, and then Clive and our governor made a big spiff out of it, you know what I mean? And they made a joke out of it, and they put the flares in the air. They did this and they did that, but what I saw wasn't a flare.
Yeah.
It was some kind of a craft. I don't know that it was a spacecraft, but it was a craft. It was in the air. It flew over the top of us. My son won't even talk about it at all.
He still won't.
No, because he knows what people think when he tries to talk about it.
There is still the negative, in other words, what you're saying, a lot of people in your area bought into the media cover-up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Clive Simonton put somebody in a little outfit, and they walk them around in front of the television, and everybody believes that we're all a joke. And
Pretty sickening. This whole idea of our own Air Force lying to people. Why couldn't they say, yes, we have reports?
Well, here's the way I look. I'm 50 years old, and I've looked in the air a lot over my life. And I've never saw anything before, or probably never will see anything like that again. That was a one-time thing, and I look all the time now, constant, because I don't know what it was. I can't explain it.
And you'd like another chance, wouldn't you?
Sure, I would. I'd like somebody to call me up and tell me what it was.
Yeah.
Did that, when you looked up and saw that, how did you, this may sound a little off the wall, but how did you physically feel at that moment? Did you get a jolt through you? Did you have a...
Well, yeah, my stomach felt uneasy. Yeah, I did. My stomach felt really uneasy.
It would almost have to, Peter, I'm thinking. The people to see something that huge, that enormous, and know damn well it's no airliner, no
it wasn't.
No flares.
I know what a 747 looks like in the air. I know what, this thing would have ate one of those for lunch. This thing was huge. It was the size. I don't know if you have Safeway where you're at, but a supermarket.
Yeah, I understand.
Large, really large. And in the parking lot's the size of a football field.
Yeah, it's hard.
Shopping center.
It's hard to know how big it was, Dan, because you don't know how far away from you it was.
Well, I know that there was a plane to the right of us and above.
Yeah.
So I have a pretty good idea because the plane was heading toward our airfield.
Yeah.
And I know that when they come in at around 3,000 feet.
This would have been a commercial airliner.
No, it wasn't. This is a small airport, and this is a small plane. That's when I know that the flying area around here is around 3,000 feet. So it had to be below that.
Well, I don't think so, Dan, because it's impossible, physically, utterly, no question about it, impossible to look at a strange object in the night sky if you don't know how big it is, to know how far away it is or how high it is. You have perceptions, but those perceptions don't mean anything.
Unless a small plane flew behind it and was screened out by it. Then you might have a good guess.
No, that wasn't that way. This thing would have been to the northeast side of it.
Can you imagine if you were in a plane, Dan, flying around that night? You would have had to have seen it, wouldn't you?
I think so. Yeah, there'd be no way not. I saw it from 10 miles away. the first time.
Yeah.
Okay, so and when we got on top, like I said, when we got there, then it flew over the top of that shopping center. It took up more than the Safeway building as it came over the top. It came over slow, because it was slow enough for us all to look at it, and ooh and ah and all.
Were
that
there any other
thing.
people in the parking lot looking?
Yes, yeah, there were other people out there.
Besides your group?
Well, yeah, it was a parking lot. There were people all over the parking lot, parking their cars, getting in and out.
Yeah,
And
we didn't know if the store was open or not.
Oh, yeah.
I see.
And were they
It was
looking
only
up?
7:30 at night.
Did you hear them looking up and buzzing and talking about
Wasn't
this?
paying attention to any of those people, other than after it was over with, we got in our car and ran for a phone.
So you didn't go bowling. You turned
Oh,
around.
yeah, I went to the bowling alley, ran in. They all thought we were crazy. First thing I did, all these people that I bowl with, I just ran in and started saying, hey, I just saw a UFO, and they're looking at me like I'm an idiot. And the next day, it comes on the paper. Well, the next time I go to the bowling alley, everybody wanted to talk now, because...
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was really crazy. And my wife, she directs the school district, the busing around here, and I guess one of her drivers saw it, too.
Yeah.
How could it be that a parking lot full of people wouldn't see something like this? So big, right overhead.
Well, they'd have to have.
Yeah, and not report it to the news or not report it to the National UFO.
It got reported.
I have a hunch it was reported, but as we've heard so many times, the people on the other end of the phone will take the notes, file them in the round container, and forget it.
Well, there was people, there are other people in the valley that were investigating this also, and they came up here, and we all met at a company in Prescott Valley and talked this all over with these other people. There were probably 15 or 20 of us up there that these people interviewed.
Yeah.
And we went to the parking lot together, and he told me to that's why I knew that question. He told me to put my fist in the air, that type of thing, and see what I could say. You got to be kidding, right? This is like having a house over top of your head.
Okay, but relative size, Dan, relative size is different from your perceived size estimate of what its absolute size was. So if it was roughly the size of your fist held at arm's length, we had an earlier witness on tonight who, when it went over Phoenix, well south of you, I believe, it was lower. It had descended. When it went over Prescott, we have reason to believe it was at about 18,000 feet.
Well, if it was, then it would have to be humongous.
Yeah, that is our impression. It was 18,000 feet, and that is because I believe that plane that you alluded to reported it. That may have been the small plane coming in from Denver or Colorado Springs that reported the object to Luke Air Force Base, and it was based on that report that Luke may have scrambled jets, because we have an unconfirmed report that the person who was flying a private twin-engine aircraft, it was a Cessna twin-engine 421, had the object fly in front of his aircraft, and it completely obliterated his view of Prescott and Prescott Valley.
Oh, I can imagine.
So he got on the horn. He was a retired senior military officer, and he reported it to Luke Air Force Base, predicated on the fact that he was general or above. They scrambled jet fighters to go after that object.
Was there a time frame in that? What time? Did he have a time?
About 8:15, which was about the time that you saw the object.
Close.
Yes, the times are correct, the locations are correct. And do you have any idea what type of airplane you were looking at?
I just knew it was a small plane.
You couldn't tell whether it was single engine or twin engine or jet or otherwise?
No, it definitely wasn't a jet, because it wasn't going fast. I don't believe it was going fast enough to be a jet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a small plane, and like I said, the people that were with me, there's only one out of all five that really has ever really talked about it. They just hushed up. They didn't want to talk about it. They didn't know what they didn't want to be thought of as crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
that's what they were implying. That we were all pretty much idiots. Tried to put it off as a flare, and I just,
yeah,
that had to
it
make
headed
you
toward Phoenix from here. Okay, and they saw it in Phoenix, so everybody I think saw the same thing.
The flare story had to make you a little angry, I would think.
Very angry, very angry.
they think about all the time. It's something haunting. A lot of UFO cases that I've heard about don't have that component. They have that a person saw it, they'd like to see it again. Maybe they want to buy some gear to record it next time. But it seemed double compounding or something with that boomerang. Um, I think it was. I don't know. I didn't see it. My best guess from talking to so many witnesses is the sheer size of it and the awe of we can't build something like this. It was funny. I've read reports. I think the audio sounds. Sorry about that. I've read reports where people were saying, "How come we didn't record this with our phone?" Sorry, sound should be back. We didn't have phones back then. I mean, they kind of did, but no one carried them around. It wasn't a thing. It was like we had more freedom and whatnot. People weren't totally reliant upon that. And yeah, Dave's story. Can you imagine like if Fife's story was even real, and then him coming and taking such a huge historic dump on the sighting? I don't see that in the psyche of the people who saw this. This changed their life. And yeah, plus I had an interesting theory from a friend of mine that, maybe Fife had inside knowledge, because he was governor. Possible, I guess. Let's see. Is audio back running? Let me do a check here. Yeah, I think it's running. So we're going to get to the next one, which was just north of him, up at Paulden. Same thing. Sorry, I had it backwards. Dennis is the police officer. Dan was the guy who saw it. After it left Paulden, it went to Prescott, and it went at supersonic speeds. And that's one of the cases where people that show up and say it's a stealth blimp. No, because it went from Paulden and then at 8:15 to Prescott at 8:16 in 1 minute. Imagine Peter's like, oh, I got to follow Paulden, Prescott. Oh, shit. He could practically trace a line where it was heading. So to go from one city to the next is like 1,600 miles an hour. So there's no blimp that's going to pull that maneuver off. So let's see what Dennis has to say here.
The kind of person he is, one of America's finest. Okay, Dennis, tell us what you saw.
Well, it was a March 13th, tomorrow evening, 5 years ago, and it was in northern Arizona. Actually, we're located about 140 miles north of Phoenix, and we're in a higher elevation, approximately 4,500 to 5,000 feet in elevation, so our nights are very clear. I live in an extremely rural area. We have no light pollution. We don't, we're so far from a metropolitan area, we don't have much smog. We have very, very clear nights. As I recall, that night it was very dark. There was no moon out. The stars were exquisitely shining. They were very brilliant. And I left my home with my wife and was northbound just shortly after 8 o'clock in the evening.
Uh-huh.
And I looked off to my left and noticed 5 lights in the sky. There was one light in front, like a point light, and then 2, and then 1 in the rear, kind of a diamond shape, and then another one behind it as though it was a tail to a kite. And these lights were not traveling very fast. They were, if I was to equate it to something I would normally see in the air, it would be about the speed of a helicopter or helicopters.
Uh-huh.
And it was so unusual, I had to stop the car, and I got out. It was very cold out, but I got out nonetheless and looked at the objects, and I don't get excited too much. I've seen a lot of action as a police officer and learned to stay calm and look at things objectively.
Sure.
And these were so unusual that I hollered at my wife to get out of the car and look at this, check this out. So she gets out of the car and looks, and she goes, "Oh my God, what is it?" I said, "I have no idea." And they were moving fairly slowly. They seemed to be in symmetry. There was never any variation in their distances from each other or in the shape, design of the lights. I was unable to really tell if it was, I wasn't even thinking at the time, if it was one object or 5 different objects. I think Peter asked me later, sometime later about that. And I seem to recall the initial reports I was reporting 5 separate lights, and I think the reason why is because the night is so dark that perhaps I saw stars in between the lights. I'm thinking, I don't know, I don't recall. I couldn't be 100% sure if it was one object or 5 separate ones. That's my impression. We were so aghast at this, like Peter said, we had jumped back in the car, went back to the house. I hollered at my kids, "We've got a UFO!" And because they had never seen anything like this before ever. And my son come out and he observed it. And I didn't even think to grab the video camera, but these objects moved. If we were to equate it to a helicopter, I would guesstimate they were about 2,000 feet in elevation and moving about the speed of a helicopter. And they moved in the direction towards Phoenix from the north-northwest. Actually, in a direct line from me to Las Vegas as a crow flies, I would guess. And then moving in a direction towards Phoenix, about 130, 140 miles away. And as they passed by, these lights were larger. They weren't like any lights I'd seen in the sky ever before. They were round. They were an amber, orangish color, as I recall. There was no variation in their intensity or in their color. They just remained the same formation, and kept moving at that slow pace. They passed by to the south, and after viewing them for about 90 seconds or so, each light started to blink off. I don't know whether they actually were turned off or perhaps it was just a light shining forward, and as it passed by it would disappear from sight or what, but each light individually blinked off, and in a matter of 15 or 20 seconds the lights were essentially gone or not visible any longer.
Could it have been that the craft turned away and you didn't see the lights at that point? Or do you think they were extinguished?
It's hard to say if they were, like I said, I'm not sure if they were extinguished, turned off, as it were, or if they were just going out of sight individually, shining forward, so to speak.
Were you ever able to discern a solid shape against the night sky? Was it blocking out any of the stars? If this was a single item, was it blocking any stars out? You did indicate you felt you might be able to see stars through it, but it's a pretty difficult call in those circumstances.
You're absolutely correct, and I don't have a clear recollection of that. My impression was that there were 5 different objects, and I based that on thinking possibly that I could see stars, but that's not a real concrete, definitive recollection.
Very good. Peter, what is the time frame with Dennis's sighting and Sue's sighting?
Approximately 5, maybe 10 minutes ahead of time. Dennis called me at 8:17 p.m. Now, I don't know how many minutes before you called, Dennis, you had first seen the objects. I'm guessing maybe 5?
Correct.
So you saw them, I would guess, at about 8:10 to 8:12 p.m. We heard Sue Watson say that she saw hers at about 8:20 to 8:25. So, Dennis, I'm looking at a map here in front of me. I estimate that as the crow flies, Paulden, Arizona is to the north-northwest of Phoenix by about 90 to 100 miles. That's my estimate. I may err on that. So these objects were able to cover, if we're talking about the same object, I'm not sure that's the case, and we'll talk about that later in the program, Jeff, but if we're talking about the same object, the object was able to cover 100 miles in about 5 to 10 minutes, approximately.
Not too shabby.
Without generating a sonic boom. Clearly, that is supersonic velocity.
And that's another point there, Peter and Jeff, is that these lights, there was no noise whatsoever, nothing, no noise. And that was the unusual thing to me. There was no sound of the rotor beating of a helicopter, of a jet, propeller of an aircraft.
I understand. All right, stand by, and we'll take this break. And
what an extraordinary sight that must have been. How long, again, Dennis, do you estimate you were witness to those lights?
Oh, well, time enough to drive back to the house, get the kids, stand on the porch and watch. I would guesstimate 2 minutes, maybe.
And they were to the west of Paulden, is that correct?
They were, slightly to the west. If overhead was 12 o'clock and I was facing north, looking at a clock, they would probably be about 10 o'clock.
How close? Take a guess. It's tough. We're not going to hold you to this, of course, but just give us a wild guess. Mile?
A mile would be a good guess, yes.
How big were the individual lights? I think you said you saw 5 of them.
Yes,
they were yellow-orange. Each of those 5 lights, could you estimate what their apparent size was from your vantage point, for example, relative to a bright star in the sky or relative to the full moon?
If you were to hold a pencil at arm's length, each light was about the size of the eraser of that pencil.
So very big.
Yes, they were.
Very prominent.
Yes.
And again, they all moved in unison, correct?
Yes, in sync, right.
Did the cluster of them, Dennis, maneuver at all, or was it absolutely rock solid, just gliding across the sky in an unwavering fashion?
Very good description. Rock solid gliding. I mean, they remained in sync. They never varied in speed, in direction, or in distance from each other, as though it could have been one object with 5 lights.
Yeah. And one more question, if I may, Jeff. You've seen aircraft in formation, Dennis, I'm sure, at air shows and aerobatics demonstrations and things like that. Just to, if you would forgive me, to belabor the point, to put the wooden stake through the black heart of the Phoenix Lights, how solid, how stable, how unwavering in its flight was that cluster of 5 lights relative to a formation of aircraft, would you say? And I'm asking for an opinion there, I recognize.
It was much smoother. It was slower and much smoother. It was just, like you said, gliding was a very good descriptive, an adjective to use for that.
Yep. Did the color, excuse me for interrupting, did the color of the lights waver or change at all, or was that sort of an immutable part of your sighting?
They did not change, as I recall. They remained that amber color. I might add that I'm quite a skywatcher most of my life, and we see satellites out here in the late evening hours when the sun's just right. You can see satellites going across the sky. I mean, I've seen lots of things in the sky over the years, and I'm able to in my mind, go through the filing cabinet of my mind. Well, those are satellites. That's a balloon. But these, I could not pinpoint what they could be equated to. That's what was so unusual. And when I got out of the car, and there was absolutely no noise whatsoever, I think that was the biggest point that just drove home to me. This is something not normal.
Amazing. You may have been the first person to really, I guess, witness this chain of events that night, Peter.
Yeah, I think Dennis was one of the first in the state of Arizona to see it in order to record it and or to report it. We have that I'm aware of. Now, some of the other investigators, Jim Delatoso, Michael Tanner, Richard Motzer, and Tom Taylor, and many others, may have witnesses to the north of Polden, Arizona, but I'm not aware of it. I'm just not familiar enough with their data to be able to say. But, boy, what a wonderful description, Dennis, of its size, just how it looked. And going back to a question that Jeff posed to our earlier guest during the first hour, how did this affect you, or how did it affect your family? Did you talk about it? Did you look at the news reports locally? What were your impressions after the sighting?
Initially, of course, there was quite a bit of excitement in the household, and I was rather reluctant to call, but then I called the sheriff's office and asked them if they had any reports, and they had nothing, and that's when they connected me with Peter, you, and we talked. The next morning, it didn't seem to affect the family too much. Some unusual lights in the sky, it was like, so what? You know, the kids were 9 and 11 at the time, and oh boy, it's like a circus thing.
Yeah.
And the next morning, I called. I worked for a radio station at the time, and I called the news lady at the radio station, asked her if she had any reports. It was about 6 or 7 in the morning. She said, no, we may have one in Prescott Valley, close by here, but no, and she dismissed it. And later that day, I mean, it was headline stuff.
Yeah.
It was everywhere.
Dennis, you were listening when Sue was on earlier. Let's just say you're working for Phoenix Metro. I don't know what the name of the PD down there is, but you're on duty. You get a call. Dispatch says a woman over in such and such says she sees something. You stop the car. You're nearby. You look out and you see something like Sue described. What would you, as a police officer, do? How would you handle that?
I probably would have. I had an occasion when I was a police officer. I had a sighting many, many years ago, and ironically, if I can allude to that for just a moment, we had a report and briefing. This is probably back in the 70s in Southern California. We had a report and briefing that if we see anything unusual in the sky, we're to immediately report it to dispatch so that they can report it to the authority that wanted this information. Mm-hmm. Well, ironically, a week later, I observed something very unusual. So in your scenario, I would have followed that same conduct. I would have probably picked up my microphone and advised dispatch what I was observing, mm-hmm. so that others could at least perhaps have a chance to look and have a recorded record of that.
Very good. Would it have been something you'd want to kind of chase after in the car if you had a chance?
If I could fly.
Very good. Stand by, gentlemen. We'll be right back with more in just a couple of minutes. And we rejoin Peter Davenport and Dennis. Dennis, I want to wrap this up. Anything you want to add to what you've so eloquently stated?
Well, the only thing that Peter and I were talking during the break, and Sue, your witness you spoke to, I heard a little bit of what she was saying, and she touched on a point that drove something home to me. And I think when we make these reports, we're trying to find out what these are, and the government becomes involved with it, or a government entity, whether it be local, state, or federal, I don't get the feeling we're getting any assistance. We get ridiculed, if you will. Insulted was a good word that I think Sue used.
Yeah.
And the feeling to me is that the government knows more than what they're telling. That's the attitude that I have. Otherwise, they would be there by our side helping us to solve this mystery as to what
Sure.
it was.
Sure.
The question of flares came up. Peter asked me about that. I absolutely laughed when I heard that news report. There definitely were not flares. Not what I saw anyway in the northern part of the state. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting interview with that former police officer. He was the first person to call in the Phoenix Lights to the National UFO Reporting Center. And it was a very sober account, I think, that he gave of what he saw. So here we have a police officer, the first person to report it. And then we have the people to come in that they don't know how to deal with this, the debunkers. So they have to just dismiss everybody. And like, Mick West and those type of people do, and just said everybody was mistaken. So this guy's a police officer, and he can't tell helicopters from a UFO. Should you be a police officer? Or how about the person questioning him shouldn't be an investigator? Not when his story is backed up person after person after person after person, and then it goes thousands and thousands and 10,000s and 10,000s, and then they say, you know what, fuck it, we're going with that kid who saw it through the telescope. There were airplanes in formation. You're mistaken by people who never investigated the case to begin with. Great guy in here. You're lucky to have him in the chat, Dave. He's a hospice nurse. He was driving home from Mesa that night on, I believe, the 60, and he pulled over and he saw the chevron-shaped thing. I think he disagrees that it was a carpenter square, and I believe he thought it was more rounded. He talked about the lights like a lava that almost fell, and kind of like that, and then it was indented like a golf ball, and the city lights were shimmering off of it, and it was a haunting type of thing to see. And if you see something like that, and then here's the Gen Z, how come you didn't whip out your phone? Because he didn't have a phone. He didn't have a camera. It came from work. So it's good that people come out and tell their story. Yeah, Mike Fortson, he saw it when it went through part of the moon, and he saw it as a murky type of yellow where it got kind of transparent when it went through that part of the moon. And him and his wife, Nanette, saw it, and they think it was as big as a mile. I did a simulation for it when I was trying to figure out Maya back in the day, and he's like, yeah, you could hold out a newspaper like this. And he was like, it was slow like a train that just went by, and it was really, really long, but kind of thin, wasn't thick, and it was somewhat translucent, but there was a shape surrounding it. And he mentioned there was a light behind it, like he thought it was like a refueling light. That's what kind of came to his mind, is something like that. But why is one hanging in the back? Nobody really knows, but it's a thing that the boomerangs do. Yeah, and that changed Mike Fortson's life. And yeah, he had a great collection of stuff. And what happens is, as we get older and pass on, these collections die. All the stuff that Mike Fortson had, he had a hell of a UFO file of stuff he's seen and did. It's probably onto his grandkids, and they don't know anything about this. They don't know what to do with it, and they might just throw it all away. It's a box of junk to them. It has no intrinsic value when it means a lot to us. So some of this podcast is me getting out information while I'm still here. So when I'm not, it's hopefully not deleted later by YouTube. Yeah, UFO Witness, that's a show. Friend of mine, Steve Brown, was on that. He wasn't too happy about how that turned out, but you know, that's how it works. All right, so now we're going to move on to Sue. Yeah, go ahead and if you can't post that, here, hold on. Just a second. I'm gonna start the next video, and then I'm gonna fix you up, Uncle Dave, here with some rights to do what media that you need to do. So let's go on to Sue Watson, who saw it in Phoenix. So a lot of these witnesses, like first there was Dennis, he saw it, and then as soon as it left him, it was picked up by Dan in Paulden, and then he saw it. Then when it left his view, then it got picked up by Tim Lee and his family. So it was a chain reaction that so many people saw this. By the time it left one city, little city, and it sped off to the next one, slowed down like 35 miles an hour, the behavior was, there's a lot of people that saw it. And then a lot of the missing stuff, we don't have too many reports from Tucson. And like Peter said, not a lot of incoming north of Paulden. As far as anybody from Kingman, I don't remember any results from there. But it doesn't really matter. Ah, shit. Shit happens. It can knock me offline, but they ain't gonna knock me offline forever. Well, let me reset one or two things and be back until it crashes again. All right, we'll move on to the next person here. Huh. Well, yeah. It's funny, it crashed. Anyway. On to Sue here. And here we go, Sue.
Indeed. Sue, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Sue.
Good evening, Peter.
You guys are old friends by now.
Well, he's the one I talked to that night. So we did become friends after that.
How was it, Sue, to be able to reach out and connect with someone of Peter Davenport's integrity and wisdom after seeing something, which we're going to hear about in a few moments? That had to be just about a lifesaver for you.
Well, it was, because nobody that I called that evening could give me any answers to what we had seen, and I started making phone calls within minutes after this vehicle shot off to the south of my home, I went in and I called the airport and news stations and various people like that and could not get anything. But actually, I think it was the airport that gave me Peter's number.
Very good. Okay. Go ahead and tell us about it. Tell us what happened.
Well, actually, my children had gone out of the house before I did. We were going to a concert that night, and it was a little bit, maybe 20 minutes after 8, I'm not sure, 8:25 or so. And my daughter came running in and said, Mom, you've got to come out of here right now. We've got something coming over Camelback Mountain, which is a landmark in Phoenix, and we live just a mile below it. So I ran outside. At that time, I had 4 children that were outside with me, and we just watched it. It was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen come over my house, and it came over extremely slow. I mean, it was just kind of coming over this Camelback Mountain, which is, like I say, a landmark with lots of housing on the mountain. I live in a pretty populated area, so I'm standing there thinking, yeah, everybody is watching the same thing that we are. And the kids started laying on their backs on the yard. You know,
they laid down.
Oh, they laid. A couple of the 2 boys laid down on their backs in the front yard because it was like magnificent. It was lit with this kind of I don't know how. I told Peter it was almost a yellowish light like they have in parking lots, and it was almost a boomerang shape, and it was a solid vehicle. It wasn't something that was separate.
It was coming right
toward your house.
It was coming
right at, very low. It was flying extremely low. There was absolutely no sound on it, and there were, I can't remember. I think there were.
And you've had 5 years to think about this. How big do you think it was, and how high above you might it have been? And this is I don't want to say a triangle. It was a wedge-shaped craft. How would you describe it?
Yes, it was the shape of a huge, it was in a V, basically, but a very, very slightly bent V.
Okay. Almost
and
a boomerang,
like a boomerang,
but not quite.
But it was very, it was wide.
A little more geometry there. Now, it's coming at you. Are you able to get a sense that you can see height on it? Can you see it front on enough to get a feeling of maybe how thick this craft might have been, or were you looking pretty much on an underside angle?
I was looking pretty much at the underside angle, but I mean, it felt close enough that the kids were waving. Oh, yeah.
At night in the dark, and they're waving at
night in the dark, they just thought, well, with those bright, bright lights in the front, maybe they can see us. And I would say it was probably... Oh, it's so hard to guess. Maybe 5 miles up, or maybe
that
less.
High? It was that high above you? That's a long way.
Actually, it may not have been. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
What? It was less than 5 miles up, but
okay.
I know it was right. It had to have cleared. I don't know. It was under 5 miles, I'm sure.
It's really difficult. 5
it's
miles
so
is airliner height at pretty much maximum altitude or close to it. That's
way
no,
up there. It was much, much lower than that because I could see jets coming in around the backside of Camelback Mountain. And, no, it was much lower than that.
All right, well, let's just say, Peter, go ahead.
I could jump in here for just a second. We have reason to believe that the object was at 10,500 feet above ground level. I say that because allegedly this object was intercepted by 2 U.S. Air Force F-15C fighters out of Luke Air Force Base. But we'll get back to Sue here in a moment. We can discuss the height of, as you properly implied, Jeff, unless you know the size of the object, you can't guess the height, and unless you know the height, you can't guess the size. You need one or the other fact to be able to establish that. But I'd like to go back to Sue, and one of the things I'd like to know is how long the object was coming at them from the north, from over Camelback Mountain, before it was directly overhead. And do I remember correctly, Sue, that it stopped and hovered above you?
It was just going extremely slow. It came over the mountain extremely slow, and like I say, maybe we're a mile and a half below Camelback Mountain. And we were watching it for more than 5 minutes. So we saw it coming, and it was going extremely slow when it was over our house. I mean, just barely moving.
And how big was it relative to the moon, please? How big was it relative to your fist, clenched at arm's length with one eye closed?
Actually, with my fist, it probably, I mean, my fist didn't begin to cover it.
Didn't begin to cover it?
No.
I think you told me it was 4 fists.
The 5 fists probably that together might have covered it.
So between, excuse me, Jeff, excuse me for just closing on this point, somewhere between 3 and 5 fists positioned side by side at arm's length would just about have matched the apparent size of the object in the night sky above you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
That's as big as a large pizza, Peter.
It was huge. It was the size of several football fields. It had to be.
Yeah.
Oh, my. Overwhelming. What are you saying to the kids? Are they scared? Or what are they saying?
No, because they weren't scared. That's what was so funny about us. We were just so fascinated with this. It was really beautiful. And, you know, you're thinking, well, everybody else is looking at it just like us. You know, if we'd had time, we would have gotten all the neighbors out, because I'm just assuming everyone is seeing this and that there's some explanation for what it was. So we were just going to enjoy the view. I mean, it was just absolutely, it was lit up and it was beautiful. And we were watching the underneath of the vehicle just going over us, and it just almost looked like a city up there. There were lights on the bottom of it, all along the bottom of it, and there were these huge lights in front of it. And see, once it got pretty much over us, we didn't pay much attention to what looked like the huge spotlights. We were paying attention more to the shape of the vehicle from underneath.
It looked almost like a city up there.
It was unbelievable, like something was floating over you that was the size of a mall, but bigger.
The lights on the underside, you say there were were these lights in any particular pattern, or were they just
they were
spread all around?
The edges of the vehicle.
Along the leading edge, as I recall.
Yeah, but I know they were in the back also.
Yeah, and go ahead, Peter.
Excuse me, Jeff. I just wanted to clarify the point. I think you placed 7 lights on the leading edge, and you commented to Robert Fairfax, the artist who did the illustration, that there was a faint glow along the trailing edge. Right,
and that's what was so beautiful, was the glow coming off. That's what I was saying. It was almost like this, the yellow kind of color they put on street lights. It was really beautiful, because you could see the outline. We could see the absolute outline of the vehicle from the lights that illuminated from it. The main spotlights in the front, at that point, we were past that point of looking at those, because, this vehicle was over us. So. And that's why the kids started waving at it, because they're thinking, maybe they can see us.
What a wonderfully human thing to do in the face.
Well, there you have it. 3 witnesses, some of the best witnesses. One from Phoenix, one from Prescott, one from Paulden, that all saw the boomerang. These people reported their sightings very early, like the next day or that night, to Peter Davenport. So we know these reports didn't come in like decades later, and they're saying this. These are actual people. And we have Dave, Uncle Dave's Kitchen here, in the chat, and he saw it too. So I'm wondering, Dave, what do you think of these? Is that what you saw? Is it? I mean, I'm sure you guys all saw the same object, but what do you think about their descriptions of it? She said that there were some trailing lights along the leading edge. I've heard that too on a few descriptions, like the big lights were the main ones that you would see, but there were like smaller mini lights or something, and maybe just regular size lights, because the size of the sheer thing is just huge. So I don't even know how big those lights would be. I think one time I was talking to Tim Lee, and he said maybe 3 to 6 foot each one of those lights was. So you got to think, if that thing's 700 foot to a mile long, that these lights got to scale up with it too, and they got to be pretty large. So what's he say? I was closer to it, seeing it from sideways and horizontally. She's seeing the trailing light. To me, it was like a multicolor rainbow. Shit, that's what I saw, a rainbow right before we started Skywatch. And yeah, the weather here after it blew through. It blew right through when I started this. So it's not quite totally clear. There's a few clouds laying around. But yeah, I mean, I got cameras in all directions. The south one went down. I didn't have time to go fix that one yet because it just keeps raining. And yeah, there's the 4K dome camera. So let's move on to some videos. There was evidence shot that night too. People say, look, nobody recorded anything. I covered a lot of the myths in the last podcast about it wasn't the 10 p.m. thing wasn't a diversion because I had an appointment to go film it with Bill. And that's kind of insulting to Steve Blonder. He was waving his hands on the internet. Hey, everybody over here, bring your cameras. You film orange lights at my house. That's what Steve Blonder was trying to shake the tree saying, wake up. You know, that's right here. Go investigate this. And then another thing is, another factor we have is what the military calls time compression. And time compression is a factor that we have with the Phoenix Lights. Because as time goes on, years and years, evidence and stories and people get lost. And people forget about the time. Now, when they say that the 10 p.m. was a diversion again, you got to remember the next day it was chaos. So this is what gets lost in time compression, is the testimony of what the hell happened. Then the aftermath is the military said, no, those aren't our flares. For 3 months this happened, right? For 3 months they said we had nothing to do with it. Luke said, look, we had nothing to do with it, right? So they didn't come out like March 14th and say, hey, everybody, it was just flares, because time compression now is like 28 years later. People forgot about all that. It didn't happen instantly. It didn't happen in a vacuum. It took 3 damn months. And the person who figured it out was Eileen Benz. And I believe she was Air Force. And I think it bothered her. Why can't we figure this out? And so she looked it up and found out Maryland National Guard was in Tucson. And anyway, she found out, oh yeah, it's how come nobody in the fucking Air Force knows what Project Snowbird is and Luke? None of them. We were calling the number to talk to their press secretary or official PR people, different stories every day. You think they could have picked up the phone, called the base commander of Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, going, hey, something weird happened last night. Were you guys out doing illumination stuff or anything? What activity? That never happened, right? Or did it? Or did they just play stupid? Because that's absolutely stupid. If we're paying all these people in the Air Force over at Luke, and they didn't even pick up the phone, and then Eileen Benz did that on a personal thing. So they don't talk to each other. Our military, this is scary if you think about it. If something bad actor were to come in and do something, we don't have our military bases talking to each other. That's fucked up. Because that's what happened. And she found out, Eileen Benz. And you know what was weird? About 8, 9, 10 years later after the Phoenix Lights, we had a cat go missing. So we put up flyers everywhere. My wife put up flyers trying to get this cat back. Get a phone call. Someone lives down the street. Thinks they found my cat. It's Eileen Benz. I'm like, not shitting you. Found my cat and figured out that these were flares. Now, we went over to we talked to her on the phone. Turns out it was a different cat, but it was weird. She's good at uncovering rocks and doing her damn job where no one else would. So no, with time compression, the military didn't come out and trot the next day. Hey. It was us. It was ground illumination. They didn't know shit. Our PR people really need to get people together, but that takes people to enlist. That takes people to have that job. So yeah, and Barwood, God bless her, all she did was ask a question. What was it? That's it. And man, did the stigma come down, and did it come down hard on her. But you know what? I was thinking about her last night. She just went, it didn't kill her. She's still out there. She's a tough woman. She just went going on being on who she is. She kept being her. Didn't put her in the poorhouse. She hasn't on the side of a freeway, the broken stupid sign. She kept being Frances Barwood. Maybe she just wanted to be city council just for a little while. Everybody, what I was thinking about is when you get into politics, you don't get into the rise to the top and become president. Some people are just happy getting into a certain level, and that's why they got in to begin with, to clean something up and then leave. So, yeah, we're lucky we had her. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I gotta change maybe the cussing filter on here. Yeah, Dave, did you, and somehow Michael Tanner got a doctorate degree. Before I forget, I was going to talk about this on the last podcast. Michael had, I've talked about this a little bit before, the folder. The folder had everything in it. It had all the drawings, the witness reports, but I think he had a copy. So I know Bill Hamilton had a copy, but where would this be? This would be with Michael Tanner's children, if they have it. His daughter did email me one time, and she thanked me for posting a video of Michael Tanner that's on my channel, and she said it brought her to tears because she'd never seen it before, because I taped it. It was something that came out of that Super VHS camera, and it was the Skywatch International conference, and she never seen it. And to see her dad, after years after he passed, I was glad that helped her a little bit. So she might have that folder, but then again, if no one ever gets all this stuff, they probably won't. We have their stories, we have their testimony, their legacies. This will come about however it needs to come about. Okay, who is me? All right, Michael Tanner's daughter? Maybe. Anyway, let's get to some videos. Got a lot more media here to cover. So let's turn that off. And let's go to Terry Proctor. Terry Proctor had been filming these lights for a very long time, whatever you want to call them, flares, whatever. He was a pilot. He lives up in Carefree, and he's been taping these all the time. So he taped not only the 8:30 event, he taped the 10 p.m. event too. So it didn't help us, after the initial case and the shock and awe and figuring out how big of a scope this is. And then for 3 months, I was told, well, these aren't flares. The military says they're not. And Jim Delattesso says they're not. And if Jim Delattesso said it, I'd take it to the bank for that guy. And, I had an implicit trust in him. He was like a big mentor to me. And maybe they were all wrong. A lot of people didn't entertain that idea. Some of the people who are closest to me today were the people who said maybe they were flares, and they pissed me off back in the day. Then I needed that. I needed somebody to say maybe it's something else. But Terry thought they were flares, Terry Proctor, and he was seen on the Discovery Channel episode. So I have these videos. I worked on them before the show. They're ported up to 4K. So let's take a look. So this is what Terry shot at the 8:30 event. This is a rare video with sound, and this one is Ultra HD.
Gail? The hell with it. Come here. You see it? I don't know what it is yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have to hand hold this bastard.
That's what he's calling about.
What?
This. He said something about a V formation.
Hurry up.
He's hung up.
You watch it, honey.
I'm watching
Well, Gail, the hell with it. Come here. You see it? I don't know what it is yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have to hand hold this bastard.
That's what he's calling about.
What?
This. He said something about a V formation.
Hurry up.
He's hung up.
You watch it, honey.
I'm watching.
Well,
Damn it. Forgot the audio button. All right. So anyway, I was talking about his horses and the reaction to his horses. So I was wondering if the horses reacted to the V or not. Sometimes animals do, but he didn't say anything about that. So I'm just going to take no. Sound should be back on. So let's take a look at this other video from Texas. So this is supposedly the boomerang. This is an enhanced version of it. So we have Uncle Dave here, and I'm wondering, Uncle Dave, does this look anything like what you saw on March 13th, 28 years ago? I took this and I stabilized this part, and then I zoomed in on it, and I noticed the wings are kind of, because I was looking to see if it was fake. The back part of the wings kind of flip around a little bit. You can see a little, that could be, I don't know. I don't have no faith in it because we don't know who shot it. But that's the shape of a carpenter square. Now the white stripes on the back of that video, if it's real, would indicate to me maybe it's a copycat U.S. model or just, you know, a Northrop knockoff. Who knows? Because that looks like something that we would do. When you hear about boomerang reports, white stripes kind of going halfway through the back is not really part of the norm. And they don't usually come out and you see the dark boomerang shape in the daytime. So how that works here is I have a rating system for this stuff. God, did I even have it in here? Yeah, right here. So let's look at how you rate a video like that. Oops, wrong video again. I'll get this one of these days. Oh, shut that guy off. Then here we go. All right, so this is what I came up with, the rating system after a couple of decades of how do you judge stuff like this? What do you do with it? So let's look at this. So after hundreds, maybe thousands of UAP videos from VHS to digital, I come up with a ranking system. This system will be used to determine what value a UAP has to the community. A rank of 0 or no rank at all means the video has no credibility and is basically useless other than optical details might it contain. There are many great YouTube channels that they're out there popular and they're useful to study to the UFO phenomenon. Some of the biggest channels often have a collection of videos supposedly sent to them by others. The system below can be used to determine what good they are or they're useless. So, 1 point's given to the person that recorded it that gives their real name that legally captured the internet. The internet handles don't work for your full name. So we don't know who shot that. No points. If you don't come out with your real name and you come out with some handle or something that you're going to use, then there's no pillar for that evidence to stand on. It's worthless. At least unless there's other stuff that come with it. You better have a pretty goddamn good excuse not to come forward with your real name, like your Secret Service level or something, because the stigma's just about gone. And you help the stigma by putting out fake shit that ain't in your name. The next point is given if the original audio is uploaded. Surveillance cameras or scopes that don't record audio are exempt and given 1 point because they would have had audio. And the other cameras that record audio. If the original audio is not uploaded, it's considered deception on the part of the person who captured. Sometimes the audio is not included in the upload because they're hiding the entire truth of the story. This happens often. The person's lying about the event, or they were drunk during the capture, or somebody was talking during the event, debunking the event. If they don't include the audio, 99% of the time they're hiding something, and the video actually then debunks itself. So that video, the boomerang, again, no name, no audio. So moving on for another point. Another point is given if the person recording the event saw it with the naked eye. So there's where I miss stuff because they get a cataract in this eye, haven't had fixed. And I do most of my sky watching indoors here when it's hot through the surveillance system, unless I'm going out to a mobile sky watch and bringing different units. So sometimes if I'm at Chris's house or something, yeah, I could get a point for seeing it. But not if you're going to use skywatching gear like this. So we'll move on with this. And a point is given if the event was captured by multiple cameras, meaning possible triangulation. Phoenix Lights had that. So we got a point for that. We got 1 point because we gave her legal names. Some of us got 1 point for giving the audio, but not all of us. And we saw it with their eyes, so we got 3 points. We got 4 points because it was multi-captured. And there's 1 point if the evidence was recorded on radar. So hitting number 5 is hard to get. The only case I ever saw that got 5 was the Tic Tac and I think the gimbal case. That they had it on radar. They saw it with their eye. Multiple captures with it, multiple sensor captures. Phoenix Lights got a 4, but just for the 10 p.m. But that doesn't mean, it means it's the credibility, but that doesn't mean it's UFO. That just means the credibility scale. And that boomerang video that we watched ranked in with a 0. And the egg video, same thing. The one that came out, News Nation, we don't know who shot it. Jake was apparently the helicopter pilot, but the egg came from someone else. Go figure. So moving on to the next video. So the Texas one. And on to Steve. We covered Steve before. He was on top of stuff. He was finding these orbs in his neighborhood, and he was getting on his camera and he was capturing them. So good work, Steve. This is what I even recorded March 13th, the morning of in the daytime. So he was on the ball. And that was back in 97 when the millennials think that we have that we had a phone or something we could whip out. But no, he had a big camera and he was recording his stuff. And then we have
Oh, it's real orangey. What the heck is that?
we have the video that I shot.
It's late.
So it's 8:30 now. So 28 years ago, that boomerang was directly over Phoenix right now, and it would have flew over one of these cameras. Probably, I'd have got it on this one. That's the incoming traffic to Sky Harbor over there. And this is looking directly west at incoming planes. So a mile long would be like the size of this tree, but it's a couple miles away. So I think that's what they were describing it at 8:30. Yeah, Mr. Bubble, the National UFO Reporting Center website was updated not too long ago. They have a new search. Before they had a search, and I don't know if I really like it. Before they had a search, you can go to like Arizona 97, and you could scroll and scroll and scroll. And you would scroll maybe like 155 pages down, but you would see everything. And then now it's only going to show so many results. So I haven't used it too often. Maybe you can query it and get more than 50, but you can't see all results. You just see whatever comes up in the SQL query. So that kind of sucks. But hey, it's upgraded. So from there, boomerang was over what? Kirk Russell would be landing. He was the one in Phoenix that radioed the tower. Now, there was a near collision at Prescott Airport, and that one got reported to Luke Air Force Base that then apparently scrambled jets after this object. And there's a video on my website of what happens when the whistleblower called Peter Davenport, recorded this guy's phone call, and he said that they had launched two F-15s after the boomerang. They intercepted over a 7th and Indian School. They videotaped it with their gun camera. They shot radar at the boomerang, and the boomerang returned static, which means it was jamming their radar. So here we have FLIR video of these things taking off. They took off to the north and banked around. Takes about 2.5, 3 minutes with afterburners on for them to get from Luke Air Force Base to 7th and Indian School. This would be a hell of a video to watch. Apparently, that's when Sue Watson was watching it when these F-15s came in. Apparently, the wings folded back a bit, and it shot off, is what many people saw in the valley do. Or the lights turned off, and they might have thought it shot off. I don't know. I didn't see that part. But I was out looking all over the place, and we didn't see anything except what happened at 10 p.m. And 10 p.m. got all the press because they're just going to play the videos. They're just going to play the videos and then talk to somebody at 8:30 and say they were flares. They bastardized the site because they're glib. The news doesn't have time to really put something together. They just say, well, we only got a few minutes, so we got to smash it together, and then here you go. But that's the nature of the beast. Now at least we have the internet, we have podcasts, long form, talking about stuff. I don't know where Clive is. He had a girl coming over, so who knows with him. Okay, so then when this happened, when the Phoenix Lights happened, we traded videos around to different researchers to try and figure out what the hell was going on. So we ended up with this New York video. And it's kind of a spitting image. I don't know if you guys seen it. Kind of a spitting image of what happened in Phoenix.
Going, fading, fading down. They're back.
Oh my God.
5. It was 4 before.
7.
Here they come. More of them. The Mulroys went out in the boat. Here's another one. Look at them. 3, 6, 7, 8.
Those aren't flares.
Uh-uh. Ate them.
I was laying there.
Eight right in a row. New patterns every time. They're well above the horizon this time. You notice that? They're a lot higher.
I haven't seen that formation yet.
No.
Should be still like 2 more then. Oh, one of them.
Huh?
There should be like 3 more because if they're big, the less problem.
Evidently Mulroys or whoever that boat is. I was watching them too. They flew right out there on the second light up. I'm surprised they didn't go across the lake, but
I don't think I'd want to go across the lake.
mm-mm. It'd be interesting to see if the one on the right fades first.
Jeff?
Can't say about that.
No. The one on the right goes out. So I'm really worried about this. Now we have 7. 7's fading.
Which one? The one on the right?
Yep. 6 is fading. 5 is fading. 4 is fading. 3 is fading. 3 is fading. 2 remaining.
Usually the last two go out at the same time.
Yeah, so that video goes on longer, and they go on to record a few more. I kind of forgot about this video. I didn't really go back and do any computer work on it or stabilize or anything. There was a section when they zoomed in, it does look like you can see just a little bit of a column of smoke. That video right there, I can't remember the exact day we got that. It was in maybe the summer of '97. That should have been a wake-up call to the investigators that, hey, you're looking at a bunch of flares. Dr. Lynn Katai has a whole bunch of 35 millimeter photographs of what you just kind of saw, a whole array of these lights. And they seem like they take a long time, but when you actually time each light, it's usually 3 to 4 minutes. And then they kind of turn on and turn off in the order that they come. And a lot of people don't believe they're flares because they have just such a fascinating color. But it's kind of the thing, you have to see it, and then you kind of go, aha. Yeah, that's another video. So let's get into some more stuff. Let's see what's flying over the city right now. Coming down with a bit of a cold. So we will get on to some more stuff. So Terry Proctor, let's look at another video from 10 o'clock. He doesn't really say anything throughout the video. But at least he shot this on a tripod, because then you can fast forward through the video and go backward. Fast forward and go backward. And you'll probably find that these videos have slow drop. And there you have seldom seen 10 p.m. video shot by the same guy who recorded the 8:30 event, Terry Proctor. We're working on getting Clive in here. And until he arrives, we'll move on to the next one. Now, I got asked for this one for a while. Chuck Reardon's video. Chuck taped all this stuff. This particular video he taped from Apache Junction. He was walking outside to take out his trash. He saw all these lights that were already lit up on the horizon. So he did exactly what everybody says they were supposed to do for the 8:30 event. He went in the house and got a camera and started recording. And got a pretty interesting video. And it was really good because it gave us a side profile, which we kind of needed to triangulate the 10 p.m. video. There's no audio on this video. So he came outside, and this is what he saw. And he's one of the few people who time-stamped. I did hear that Lincoln Tai time-stamped her 10 p.m. video 2 times, but that's as rare. That's a rare video. Nobody has it. And that was another 10 p.m. video shot by Chuck Reardon. That was without the stabilization. I get people always ask me, what does that look like? Well, there you have it. So got another video. We got some more videos, but we got to stop because right now I'm proud to introduce our next guest. He's been on the show before. He's a filmmaker. He's a father. He's a friend of mine. He has covered films all over Arizona. From New Mexico, he gets into the details of the Phoenix Lights. He's made documentaries about the Phoenix Lights. He's made documentaries about other things besides the Phoenix Lights. He has a deep history of Arizona. So when I want to know what the hell something happened, Clive is a resource that I go to. He's one of the most prolific filmmakers I've ever seen. While you're sleeping, he's skywatching, he's editing, he's making a movie. He makes movies almost faster than you could watch him. The career of this guy has a rocketary trajectory. Where he's going to go in 10 years, I don't know. He's probably going to be a regular filmmaker and documentary producer. The sky's the limit. They say you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And I don't think Clive has worked at all. So let me see. Clive, I just lost you. The second, I'm going to resend you a link. Maybe it was on my end. But we'll get Clive here in a minute. I had him for a second. So we'll see if he pops in. While we do that, we can prep the next video. Might be internet's going bad tonight. I see he's trying to come in. Anyway, let's go to the next one.
Here is a light on South Mountain. You can see this light flickering over our mountain over here. Now we're looking at a light that's now appeared again and it's come out in a different place. Definitely far away, South Mountain. There's two of them. Here, we finally hit pay dirt. Now we've got two of them in the sky on South Mountain. South Mountain, figure this one out. There's a double. There's a third one. Hey, Sue? All right, you tell me what it is.
I can hear you now. I think. Well, we're working on it. Well, let's do it. Now I can do. Yeah, I can do it mine. Well, we had him for a minute. I think he'll be back here. All right. I'm going to play this Mike Christian video, and we'll try to get Clive in on a stable feed.
Here is a light on South Mountain. You can see this light flickering over our mountain over here. Now we're looking at a light that's now appeared again, and it's come out in a different place. Definitely far away, South Mountain. There's two of them. Here, we finally hit pay dirt. Now we've got two of them in the sky on South Mountain. Figure this one out. There's a double. There's a third one. Hey, Sue? All right, you tell me what it is. Oh, what do we got? Hey, Sue! Take a look at this.
Oh my God.
I hit pay dirt. Finally. Submit it for your approval. What have we got here? This is South Mountain. That's the city in front of us. Those lights have appeared.
Well, that is a totally different configuration than we've ever seen before.
Yep. I'm sitting over here saying to myself, I got the camera. Oh, now that one went out to the to the left.
To the east.
To the east. The time is about 10 o'clock, Sue?
Yes.
10 o'clock, March 13th, Thursday night. Yeah. Isn't that weird? Look at that. And they all went on in a sequence, too. Now, the thing that puzzles me is they can't be ordinary street lights. They're going off now, right?
Yeah.
One drop.
Went off.
The thing that's amazing is that it must be so bright that they would carry, because we're looking at about 25 miles away. The middle one now.
There one. Oh,
The two,
another one.
there's another one.
Nope,
Last
there
one.
was one.
We have the last one left. Still burning.
And usually we've seen them over
Damn it. Damn it, I did the no audio again. Yeah, we were working on getting Clive in here. He's getting kicked out. But yeah, the Mike Christian video at the end, Sue says they usually see him in another spot. So they've been seeing these all over the place. And the people who have these homes are rich people. I mean, there's not poor people living on the side of mountains here in Phoenix. You know, they may claim they are, but they're not. They're pretty well off. You have $1 million view. Basically, if you got any view of the skyline, you got $1 million view because the houses here are everywhere $400,000. So you're usually going to get $1 million view if you have a skyline view. If you have a view where Mike Christian has a surround view, it's maybe $10 million view. Really nice place he has. I wish I had a thing that auto mic'd. So I don't know if we're going to get Clive in here. He's got like 20 minutes. Rebooted the radar, but the radar as a whole. I don't even want to get into that on this episode. Well, did something happen with that? Okay, so let's move on from that video. We have one more here I'm going to queue up. Just have to find it. Oh, here we go. This is a split screen of the 10 p.m. videos, and my video's up in the corner. And this is done so, I'm just going to let the audio go. Up in the corner, and then Mike Christian in the corner. We have Terry Proctor up at the top, upper left. I'm at the upper right. Mike Christian is on the lower right. This was timed, so it actually, this is what happened in real time at 10 p.m. 28 years ago. So while I was starting to record, the chain of lights was powering up on these different videos. This was something I put together. It's easy to do. Village Labs should have did this. It would have told them we all saw the same thing at the same time, and they fell behind these mountain tips. It doesn't tell us what we saw. It just says all the videos are pointing towards one spot. So he made that big mistake by saying my Christian's video is different. Okay, so you can see that Mike Christian's video is over because they fell behind the mountains, but my video is still running, and still is. So is Chuck Reardon just started recording. Mike Christian's video is over. Why? Because Mike Christian's video fell behind those mountain peaks.
So you can see that Mike Christian's videos went out, but the rest of us are still recording. And when the lights go out, they go out at the exact same time, and everything now makes sense. We were all. This is when I had the aha moment, and I thought, wait a minute, maybe we are shooting flares beyond the gunner over at the gunnery range, and I need to stop listening to Jim and come up with my own interpretations and my own analysis. And that's what. And they ignored this split screen video because Bill Hamilton already wrote a book. We've already went on TV shows and said they're not flares and they're behind the mountains, and now we're mistaken. We got to eat some crow. No one wanted to take their dish, so I took it and said, "Hey, I think the video speaks for itself here." And we have right here a person who saw that. He also saw the boomerang. Not very many people have done both. Most people either saw one event or they saw a different event. I only saw the 10 o'clock event. I looked around. I didn't see anything else. I didn't see the stuff Bill Griner saw. I didn't see the stuff Kirk Johnson saw. But without further ado, we got Clive Christopher here. Clive, can you hear me? Let's see. We can see you, Clive. Can you hear me at all? Let's see. All right, just a sec. Keep talking. I think I just got to switch you back on. I had you on here before. Anybody at home here, Clive? I got good signal on you. I don't have. Let's see. We had him in here before, and he was.
Oops. We had him in here before, and he was.
Can you hear me at all, Clive? All
right.
All right.
Let me try a couple of filters here. All right. I hear an echo. Turn this one on. How about now? Oh, shit. All right, try it now, maybe? Or wait. I've worked this out before. Didn't have any issues with it. Oh, what a hellhole. Yeah, there is a delay. There is a delay about 4 or 5 seconds. Oh, we are trying to get. Maybe he's muted. There's something going where he's coming in, he's dropping out, he's coming in, he's dropping out. When he did come on earlier, I could hear him. So I had him then, but it could just be from the storm that's blowing through, or a cell phone reception, or something like that. Now I got this other crazy video. So it's a little after 9. And let's see if we got him in here again. Takes him a second to pop in. Let's see. Let me try and get him in here one more time. It's just, I mean, it's a stupid ass rookie on this show. See if we can just get Clive full screen there. You're not muted. You should be able to talk. We got your picture though. But are you muted at all on your end? Because I'm seeing that you should be good to go. I'm not reading any audio incoming from you. Maybe. There's so many goddamn options on there. Ah, fuck. I have everything on default. Well, son of a bitch. While we figured this out, I got this video I want to play. This video shot in Louisiana. And when I saw this, it made me rethink the flare theory. So this is a video that it's 11 minutes long. These are not flares, but they look just like killed the echo. These are not flares. I don't know where this video was shot, but we're gonna roll it. Let's see. Here we go. I'll try to get the audio figured out with Clive while we run this.
That look like a whole fleet, and they flying real slow this way. If I got this many UFOs on video, I'm sending this to Mr. MB333. Sure am. They coming this way real slow. And then, you know, if they were airplanes, they would have been here. Yep, this is as close as I can get with a clear. And they look to be turning different colors. There's 7 of them. It looked like it was more than that at first. And now it's 6. One disappeared. No. Oh, one did disappear. told you they're coming this way. You know, airplanes don't fly that close together. Maybe helicopters, but I don't think so. Oh my goodness, him and his motorcycle. Turn it off already.
Look, it's more now.
No, at first there was 7, now it's only 6.
Okay, yeah, I see it in the car. Oh, you get a better picture. Yeah, you zoom down on that.
Those things are changing colors. They flashing like pink, purple, blue, green, yellow. Look like they're going towards the right a little bit because they spread out quite a bit.
Yeah, you see some type of formation.
Those are not airplanes.
Gotta take a picture. You can't tell that much.
Yeah, I see it. They're going towards the right now. But it's still coming this way. And then look, if you see where like the stars are, you can tell the stars are stars because they're not moving and they're way up higher. And now they're almost in a straight line. I was hoping they came this way so I can get a closer shot. They turned to the right on me. Probably know I'm looking. Oh, see, come look. You can really see the colors now. Like the green, pink, and purples and yellows. It's like every time they flash, they turn a different color.
Okay, yeah, now you can really see all the different colors. Oh, shit. Who's that?
Man, it's the alien caravan. That's what it is. I wonder if they're going to loop back around and come this way. I need to stop talking noise before they come too close. I know I'm not the only person seeing this. I see they're right where I saw the last UFO. Same spot. Last one. Wow.
She did a hell of a job recording that, and those weren't flares, and that looks just like my video, so it makes me think, hey, was mine one of those? Were those the drones screwing with the military base? Those didn't look like helicopters. We'll see if we can get Clive in here at all. Maybe we got you, maybe we got an echo.
She did a hell of a job recording that. And those weren't flares, and that looks just like my video, so it makes me think, hey.
Hearing an echo. Damn, what does it take to get this damn thing to work? For some reason, we just can't get Clive's audio. Well, we didn't practice behind the scenes, but it shouldn't be this goddamn hard. Joanne, that might have been with something else. Not sure what was here. Well, I'll try control audio through OBS. And then we'll try to reload him. How about now, Clive?
For some reason, we just can't get Clive's audio. Well, we didn't practice behind the scenes, but should we discuss it more?
Yeah, we didn't practice at all. Let me see how long that delay takes.
Joanne, that might have been with something else.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I'll try control audio
12,
through OBS.
13, 14.
And then we'll try to reload him.
15, 16.
How about now, Clive?
18, 19.
We just can't get Clive's audio. Well, we didn't practice behind the scenes, but should we discuss it more?
Yeah, we didn't practice at all. Let me see how long that delay takes.
Joanne, that might have been with something else.
There's a delay. 7, 8. See how long that delay takes.
Joanne, that might have been with something else.
Yeah, that's weird. There's like a 20 to 30-second delay, and when Tom asks me the question, I'll respond, but my answer isn't showing up on the live feed for at least 30 seconds afterwards. Now I can't hear Tom at all. Tom's audio is out. A 20 to 30-second delay, and when Tom asks me the question, I'll respond, but my answer isn't showing up on the live. Now I can't hear Tom at all.
Well, this is
Out. Yeah, I can't hear Tom. I just text you, Tom. Even watching the live feed now,
I fixed that.
there's no audio for you at all. I can't hear you at all.
What do you think of that video you just saw? Why don't you just kill my audio and talk about what you saw on March 13th?
Yeah, that's weird. I'm talking, but my lips aren't moving in the live feed. Yeah, I can't hear Tom. I just text you, Tom. Even watching the live feed now,
I fixed that.
There's no audio for you at all. I can't hear you at all.
What do you think of that video you just saw? Why don't you just kill my audio and talk about what you saw on March 13th?
That's weird. I'm talking. Okay. All right, so I'm killing your audio now, and I'll just wing it. I have no interaction with you, but hey there.
All right, now you just killed your mic.
March 13th, 1997, 15 years old, leaving work. I worked at Sky Harbor Airport. That night, the Red Line bus was a little late. So I get on the bus, and when I typically get on that bus, I go to the back and, like to sit up and put my back up against the engine because the engine is back there, just kind of let that engine just, do its job towards my back. But we were leaving the airport. It was probably maybe 7 to 15 people on the bus. and the red line would leave out the airport. It would turn up, I believe it was 16th Street. And right as we're on Buckeye, turning to the north, I saw like 2 to 3 lights. And I immediately thought helicopters. But then, like, working at the airport, you know that, like, that flight path is right there. So if there were helicopters there, like, it was definitely an emergency. So I thought helicopters, but then I'm like, nah, that can't be helicopters, because it would have had to have been something going on to where it's like massive, like, fire trucks, and some massive fire alarm or something like that. Like, something had to be going on for helicopters to be in that area. So now we're starting to turn on 16th Street and go north, and there's a bridge that I believe it's a bridge that goes over the old Amtrak um, tracks. So now I can see it, like I'm on the side profile side of it, and I can see 5 lights in like a V shape boomerang, if you want to call it a boomerang, but it looked like a wide V, and it was a little, like, the distance wasn't too far. Like, I can't say if it was a mile or not. Like, it was over Terminal 2 and Terminal 3, but I don't believe it was that big to where it would have covered the entire airport. But we see 5 lights, and there's, like I said, everybody on the bus is looking at it, and the bus driver's still driving to get to the next stop. So, like, we're looking at it through the bus windows. He drives and turns, I believe it's Washington, and we all get off of the bus, and now we're watching this formation of lights travel in the southeast direction. And I mean, wasn't moving fast. It seemed big. Um, at the max, I would say, a mile. I wouldn't think it was a mile. It didn't look like it, but it was definitely big. What I remember the most, the 2 things that I remember, um, when we were looking, we were all off of the bus, including the bus driver. And I was looking at it, and I could remember hearing these dogs barking. And it got louder and louder and louder. And it eventually caused me to, in this awe, looking up, it caused me to look down, because I'm hearing dogs barking. They sound like they're, right there at my feet. And if you know that area, it's like somewhat industrial. It's not too many homes, but there was no dogs, barking at all. And that's when I looked at, the other people, and they were just in this almost like this trance, just staring at it. And after, like, the event, it went south. Uh, we all get on the bus, and this is another thing that I remember is we get on the bus, we travel to the bus station, we start turning north, because the red line, it was the red line, the blue line, and the green line. And the red line would go from the airport, it cut across the city, stop at the downtown.
Well, we lost him there for a sec. Just give him a sec. He'll probably come back. Phones.
I guess we're good, even though I can't see you guys. So the red line would cut across, stop at the downtown transit station, and then it would go north on Central. Was Thomas. So sometimes I was able to catch the blue line heading east and get off at like 14th or 16th Street. Or if I missed it, that was the last bus and I'd have to walk home. Now, remember, I said that the red line was late, so it was guaranteed that I had missed that bus. So I had to walk home. Back to the second thing I remember vividly. By the time I got to 7th Street, if you know anything about like somewhat downtown Phoenix, just a little north, there's certain roads that run straight south. 19th Avenue is one of them, and 7th Street is one of them. And you, in that part of the city, you're in the bowl. So everything else, if you're looking south towards South Mountain, it's at an incline. If you turn around and look north, you know, it's going to go up. You can see that rise in elevation. So when I got to 7th Street, you know, obviously look both ways. I look, and this is when I see a second set of lights. Now they're different. The color is different. They're on a different side from what I previously saw with this formation. And the thing that got me was I had forgotten about what I saw that whole time. Nobody on the bus, once we got on, nobody talked about it. Nobody mentioned it. And I'm just now realizing as I'm getting to 7th Street and Thomas, I remembered what happened. And now I'm seeing these lights, reddish color, definitely different from the first set. The first set was like a whitish, bluish, very detailed. I don't want to say like intelligent, but there was, and I got a water bottle. So this is what I saw with the first one. If you looked at them in the distance between each light, it was like if you hold this water bottle up, you can see through the water bottle, but it's distorted. That's what it looked like with that first object that flew south. The second set of lights were almost in a string going south, and they were reddish orange, and it was probably like in between 7 to 9. There was definitely more, and they were definitely different. And I'm walking home, so you cross 7th Street, you see them, but also I'm like thinking like I need to get home. I'm tired, so I keep walking. But as I cross what is, I believe it's North High School, there's another opening. So I remember looking back, and they were somewhat lower. And by this time, I lived on 14th Street in Thomas. There was where the apartment is. It's really like covered in green and lush. So I get home, and immediately my grandma, you know, I lived with my grandmother at the time. She was the one that got me the job at Sky Harbor Airport. And immediately I'm like, you know, you got to come outside and see what's in the sky. It's these lights. It's been going on, you know, and keep in mind, I'm 15 years old. You know, I really don't care about UFOs. I'm, you know, thinking about girls working, going to school, making sure my grades are, but I don't really know how to explain like what it is that I'm seeing. Plus, she had a prosthetic leg. So, you know, I want her to come outside and see what it is that I'm seeing. And she does. And there, now the lights are a little bit lower, and they're starting to, because where the apartment is, there's like I said, it's very lush, a lot of vegetation for a apartment complex that's in the middle of the city. So now it's really low and starting to, you know, get lower to where we can't see it anymore. But she came outside just in time to see a few of the lights, and they just like, you know, I'm assuming either left or dipped below the horizon, but we couldn't see it much longer after that. And the cool thing about all of this, the next day was Friday, and you know, going to work and working for Southwest. I worked in Terminal 4, pushing wheelchairs, and that was like a very nonchalant, laissez-faire. You know, we were allowed to do a lot as long as we got the job done. That day, and even days after that, it was it just wasn't the same like it had been in the past. I mean, there was just it was very strict. You know, my boss James at the time, you know, he was really making sure that we were on our P's and Q's, and even just like personnel, it just the vibes, you know, were different days and weeks after that. But yeah, that's that. You know, that's what I saw. That's what we saw with, you know, all the people that were on the bus that night. And I wish there was a way that, you know, I would be able to try to find those people somehow. I know, you know, maybe they're still here. Maybe, you know, some have moved on, some have passed, but there were other people that were on the bus that night. And yeah, man, that was just, you know, when it comes to the anniversary, it's like, it's so embedded into the brain. Like, it's one of those events, like you remember where you were when 9/11 happened. You remember, if you were alive, you know, Y2K and the Phoenix Lights. It's, you know, if you saw it, you know the importance, the significance, but it's there, it's embedded. It's just one of those dates that, you know, if you saw it, you were part of it. You know, it was an experience that, you know, shaped who I am today. You know, you see the movie posters here, and you know, it turned me into a UFO investigator, and you know, I investigate not just the Phoenix Lights. You know, pretty much everything Arizona, the history, the neighboring cities and states, and you know, it's we were talking about this on a phone call. It's a much bigger picture, and you know, I'm just very thankful that I have, you know, you, Tom, the crew, Dan, Chris, you know, Brian, Andre, all the people there that you know, helped me, you know, get this information out there. So
Did you
sucks that we
talk
had a
about
cloudy
this?
day. We weren't able. We tried to get a Skywatch, but cloudy
Yeah.
day prevented that. But you know, the anniversary is just it's just something you never forget. You know what I'm saying? It kind of puts me back into my childhood days of riding the bus, being in high school, not having to worry about much. You know, I'm sitting here watching black and whites and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a holiday. But I
Well, let me
can't
ask you.
hear what's going on or what's being said. I'm jumping back on now to see. Let's see here. There we go. Saying it kind of puts me back into my childhood days, riding the bus, being in high school.
Now, if you didn't see these lights, do you think you'd be a filmmaker today?
So it's kind of like a holiday. What's going on or what's being said? Jumping back on now to see. Let's see here. There we go. Saying it kind of puts me back into my childhood days, riding the bus, being in high school.
You're goddamn right, Joanne. A lot of good came out of the Phoenix
Ooh,
Lights.
that's
It
a good
wasn't just
question, man.
one event that we saw, it was a shared
I was
experience.
talking to a friend recently, and I really don't know what I would be doing, because it's funny. I moved in 1998, January of 1998. So I left Phoenix shortly after, and I kind of forgot about the Phoenix Lights up until about 2000, maybe 2000, 2001. I was in Tennessee and hanging out with some friends, and just so happened this UFO show was on. Even at this time, I'm not even the UFOs, but you know, we were at a friend's house there, and it comes on. It's like the Phoenix Lights. I'm like, oh, yo, I saw that. You know what I mean? And you know, they were, you know, tripping out and asking questions and things like that. But it wasn't until about 20. I took a trip to the city of Ephesus in 2011. So probably about 2010 when I got serious with like the investigations, and that trip to Ephesus, long story short, led me back to Phoenix. And you know, really after 2011, that's when I I picked up and took the investigation seriously, and then that led to starting my own business and doing some things with ESPN and Tommy Chong before I eventually got into um, the Fox to Disney merger, and it just kind of took off from there. But if I didn't see the Phoenix Lights, that's a great question, Tom. I'm not sure. I'm a filmmaker because that's where really it started with BMX, Black Mountain BMX, and I was a photographer, and then I got into video. I mean, who knows? BMX is still in the play, right? So I photographed the Black Triangle there. Discover it's man-made object, and then looking into the history of Arizona. So I might still possibly be a filmmaker now that I'm sitting back and looking at it. I still may end up being a filmmaker, and I still possibly am looking at UFO activity because even if you remove the Phoenix Lights, I still end up at BMX. I still end up photographing that Black Triangle that's in that area, and I still end up doing the Fox to Disney merger. So I think I think the answer is yes. I think I do still become a filmmaker. Let me see here.
And I'm hitting my earphones are dying, so there's always one technical problem after another, but that's what geeks like, man.
I think the answer is yes. I think I do still become a filmmaker.
Yeah. I have to go to fucking sign language or
Yeah, I
closed
have to.
caption.
I can only hear you from here. I can't
Sorry,
hear
I've
you
had
on the
that
phone
goddamn thing.
that I'm
Might have to
talking
do
to.
sign
So
language.
maybe the next time I'll, call in on a laptop or something like that. But I'm talking and hearing from here, and then talking into my phone, and I notice like the answers are, about 15 seconds. There's about a delay from when I actually talk to when I actually hear it. So we'll adjust this and work this out for the
I
future.
shortened it.
So it's
I
not
had
looking
that
as
on
crazy, but I'm
60.
glad I was able to get on with you guys, and Tom, thank you for hosting this Phoenix Lights anniversary 4K Skywatch, and I was watching some of the videos. Some of those videos I haven't seen before, so thank you for taking almost 3 hours of your time to set this up. And
All right, at this point,
thank you for taking almost 3 hours of your
these are dead.
time to set this up.
One of them is. So I can hear a little bit. I guess I have another set
Did he cut it?
of,
I think he
of
cut it.
Bluetooth stuff, but
I
they
think he
kind of
cut it.
overlap each other. And we may have lost Clive. I think we lost him. So yeah, let's see what's going on with the Sky Watch. We have thermal cameras here. And what's funny is this almost looks just like this is nighttime, man. Fucking 10 o'clock at night. Look at that. The color camera looks just color 3 looks like daytime. It never the light pollution here's crazy. And then look at color 2. That's what my eye looks like. My eye is all screwed up like that with the cataract on color 2. So yeah, I have to go have my eyes slit open. We'll fix this goddamn cataract. So yeah, it's gonna be cold here. Probably 80 degrees pretty soon. So anyway, um, so I think Clive is done. He had a he had a girl coming over. Um, but let's just take a look around because it's 10 o'clock, man. Let's go down to this powerhouse right here, and let's go take a look. It still looks like daytime. It's not. It's 10. So right over here, where these looking west is incoming aircraft here. These are usually California or Hawaiian flights coming in. So the boomerang was so low to the ground that it probably would have been blocked by some of these trees. Just like that video that we saw. That video that we saw that uh, lady shot, 11-minute long video, looks like the Phoenix Lights. Uh, Other studies have done where you have 4 lights, just like I had, and then you have that one light off to the side that trails. That's a thing. That's the thing because, like, Clive was saying, I don't know if he would have been a filmmaker or not, but definitely had positive effects on where he is today. For some people, it changed the course of their lives. For some of them, it was an adjustment. If I didn't, I got to ask myself that question. What if I didn't film the Phoenix Lights? What if I told Bill Hamilton, no, I don't want to go, or I'm busy, I got to work a second job, and I never filmed it? Would I be here today? I sure as hell wouldn't be doing this live cast right now on March 13th, that's for sure. Wouldn't be doing that. Would I have that radar pole that's I'm trying to put in the backyard? Who knows? It's the one thing leads to another, and it's built upon. We have Uncle Dave's kitchen here. He was greatly affected by it. He told me, some of the stuff he says, the haunting. That he thinks about that when he wakes up. He thinks about that when he goes to sleep every day. So when you have people like Bob Schaefer say that this was the Maryland National Guard, well, how did the Maryland National Guard get to Henderson, Nevada twice? I showed you guys the receipts, from everything that happened at Davis Monthan, and no, there was no refueling operation. That guy Bob Schaefer, he just made this up. The guy owns the website debunker.com. And so it insults 830 people, anybody who sees stuff. It's insulting. I know what you saw in your dumb and it was aircraft. No, that's not what happened. Something amazing, something phenomenal happened 28 years ago tonight. And it was a parade of other objects. At 10 p.m., there was a bunch of stuff going on. There was what I was filming was going on right now. We would have had those flare lights, whatever was going on. Okay, then we had Bill Griner saw these 2 huge orbs the size of hot air balloons, and he said they shot straight up in the sky when Luke went off to intercept them. Then you had Trig Johnson. Trig Johnson was a Southwest pilot with like 13,000 hours. He was no rookie. And him and his sons were going down Scottsdale Boulevard, and they saw a huge disc-shaped object go from east to west. We didn't see that. And that was, I had to drive home, so I had a view of a lot of stuff. But I only saw what happened at 10. Clive saw an 8:30 and a 10 event. Another person who saw something like that was Max Harrison, except he saw the 9 o'clock triangle and then the 10 p.m. So there were a few people who got to see 2 sightings. Yeah, you hear people saying that the thing flew so low that if it tilted, it would hit the damn ground, right? That video from 2020 that we saw of those blinking lights, was that drone activity? It might have been. That might have been the beginning of the drones effing with the military, because it was like 2019, I think, when they buzzed Tucson and they went over Davis Mountain and outran the police helicopter, and then they hit Palo Verde nuclear power plant, and then they hit this sighting that I just showed you guys that nobody talks about it, but they did it, right? Then you have the Tedesco brothers. Excuse me, the Tedesco brothers, great researchers. Man, I really wish we had like a million more of these Tedesco brothers doing this. They're out there slaving away doing the hard work. They put their money where their mouth is. They're out there freezing in the goddamn RV. They're out there in the elements filming. And they have really great material. So if you can, watch a podcast with these guys, and they lay it all out. They do a lot of stuff. They use 2 different types of radar. They have some spectrometers. I don't even know what they're doing with that. I think that's radio frequency. So they have like what I'm doing on steroids, but in an RV. So my hat's off to them. They have some orb stuff coming in and out of the water. They have orbs that interact with drones. Because remember, they're different. The blue type orbs, the red orbs, are not the drones. But sometimes people get a video of one turning into the other. It's kind of weird. And yeah, they got video that looks like them coming in and out of the Atlantic Ocean. They have orb video of really close up. They have radar video showing what looks like a UFO dividing and really kicking ass. So check out the Tedesco brothers. I'd like to get them on the podcast if they come on this little show. We're all doing the same shit. You know, I mean, we're all skywatching. I do want to say there's not going to be a show tomorrow night. I'm going to take a break and go move some dirt probably. I tried summoning. I tried, I thought, you're not a real scientist if you're closed-minded. And I'm not into summoning. I'm not into psionics and that type of stuff. So I thought, what the hell? Give it a shot. What do I have to lose? I have all this gear. So I gave it a shot. And what I did was, I don't know remote viewing. I think it's bullshit. I think psionics is bullshit. I think the hitchhiker effect is bullshit. There's no hypothesis or empirical science that works. It's anecdotes. Could work, but there's no evidence. So I thought, okay, what I do is close my mind, meditate, and just try and do what Luke Skywalker did in Empire Strikes Back and get those rocks to go up and down and stuff. So I did that, and I just kind of thought, I'm here, and shoot like my energy up, like come find me. And some orange immediately goes by the new 2K dome camera. This one. I don't have the video queued up, but something orange went by and stopped and dropped. And the camera was pretty much in focus. It flew in front of the thermal fork. So when I did playback, it plays back all the thermo and everything. And it wasn't a bird, wasn't a hawk. I don't know what the fuck it was. But I'm leaning towards bird, because for it to be a UFO, it's got to be, pretty out there. I try to set the bar for myself pretty damn high. So it's interesting, it happened. So I tried it again, right? Like minutes when I did the pre-show. I thought the rainbow's here. What a better time to try and get that egg to fly under the rainbow, right? Get the egg to fly under the rainbow, it'd be a hell of a shot. And I tried to summon it, did the same thing again, and absolutely nothing happened. Nothing. But that's not an exact science. It's like, well, you try it, cause and correlation. I don't know. I'm not willing to write it off, but I'm not also going to jump on the bandwagon and say, yeah, man, last year was TikToks. Now it's eggs, and everyone does psionics. We see that shit all over Twitter. We got to hold her a bar up high for herself, and try to vet your material the best you can. Because the debunkers are gonna pick you apart like a vulture. They'll ignore the whole scene, but just go for that one little hole and get you. That guy, the guy Bob Schaefer. Rob Heatherly is another guy doing. I I don't even know what the word is. They need to invent a word for what Rob Heatherly's doing. He's going after the debunkers and holding them to account. On X, Twitter, he's really screwing with these debunkers and kind of identifying who's who. And he definitely nailed them dead to rights that this guerrilla skeptics group is totally controlling all the Wikipedia page. If you go to the Phoenix Lights Wikipedia page, it's all written by these guys. And they're probably quoting Bob Schaefer, the guy who made up the whole Maryland National Guard stuff. Yeah. And then if you delete it and then try and cite something, they'll just undelete it. So a few other things that before I wrap up here. I've got something else I want to look at. So it's not going to be that. It's going to be this one. All right. So this right here is brought to you by Mr. Steve Blunder. So this is on his website, and the website is up in the link description. So this is just a 12-page document. I'm going to direct link it after the show. And since this show is geez, maybe 4 hours long, it might take 2 days for YouTube to render this out, and then because the chat is automatically gone until they get around to the 4K resolution. Takes a couple days, and if you have ads on, they put a fucking ad like every 3 minutes, so you have to go in and delete all that. But anyway, I'm going to put the link in the description to what we're looking at here, because this should be in everybody's beautiful research here. This is research done by the late Dr. Bruce Maccabee, and what we're looking at here is this is triangulation points from my 10 p.m. video, and in here we identified these house lights, and because of these house lights of his neighbors, we were able to basically figure out about where the camera was pointing when I videotaped Phoenix Lights. So we scroll down. So here it is Google Earth. So that's his location, and he doesn't live there anymore. So this is the GPS coordinates of that, and this is where we're pointing. And this was also part of what I talked about in the last podcast, that Dr. Lynn Katai summoned these people from ASU. So where this pin is, we took a GPS position. I remember this. I was there. And then these guys walked around here, and I think one is mine, I think one might be Steve's or something. And then they drew a line. And these are the locations of where it was filmed. So these lines cannot really be argued with. So you have Mike Christian, Lynn Katai, we have Chuck Reardon, and we have the Steve Blunder location there. So you can see that Chuck Reardon really helped get a side shot, because without it, everybody was just looking southwest. This one is almost west-southwest. And the triangulation points here pretty well put them, look at it, it's almost at halfway to the Arizona border. So this is it's not really marked like it used to be. And Google doesn't mark this right. We used to have actual maps, paper ones, and this would be the Barry Goldwater gunnery range. And that's where you can see UFOs go down there. If you go down there and watch them, UFOs show up to watch too. You'll see all kinds of stuff. People who serve see weird stuff during these things. So this goes into a discussion of shit. I don't even remember this. Oh yeah, Bill Hamilton wrote this. This is a position paper that Bill Hamilton wrote. I think before he resigned from MUFON, he got in that big fight with Richard Monser. Forgot about this one. So anyway, this probably goes into the argument of why they're not flares. So there's a Mike Friesen, a Christian video. Mike's a pretty nice guy. Chuck too. I only got to meet Chuck once. So there's Chuck Reardon's. And then Lynn Katai, she films up at tent too, but she kind of denies it because it's kind of demonic. But if you look at the arc right here, um, you look at the arc of mine and the arc of Lynn's. Lynn's are almost balanced out, and mine are kind of at an angle. It's kind of interesting. So here's the timing. I did the timing back then and timed all the lights, how long, when they came on, when they came off. So you can see the average duration is between 3 and 4 minutes. So when you watch the video, it seems like they hang in the air forever, and you're like, this is a 20-minute video. But it's not. It's actually just these lights don't really last longer, than a few minutes. So this goes into a breakdown of all these lights. This isn't too big of a paper, so you can get through this. Just a second. Something caught my eye here on, I think it's a plane. But while I was going through this document, what the hell is this? And it looks like a digital artifact where it's going boom, 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 and it was making like 4 dots. My God. You got to be careful. These things are sneaky. When you're looking one way, and things are sneaking up on you on another. You're right over it. Anyway, back to this document. This goes into all the lights. So this is a breakdown. This is a hell of a study that was done on this. These are the GPS positions of the filming locations. So this will show you where the starting positions are. This is where they're looking at. Montezuma's Head is the name of a peak on the South Estrella Mountain. So that's that document. And then we have the National UFO Reporting Center. And yeah, this is the new version. And this can be, you can go through and read. This is fascinating to read this. If you want a free book, go to the National UFO Reporting Center and start clicking through this. Jesus, each one could be a page or two. I mean, you could, if you want to make your own cool Phoenix Lights book, here's what I suggest. Come to the National UFO Reporting Center, look under Phoenix, and then print every single one of these to PDF. And then put them in a book, make your own page numbers, and you got a goddamn Phoenix Lights book based on submissions to the National UFO Reporting Center. Then we got the skeptical person. This is the person that I don't think it was Robert Schaefer. It was probably Joe Nickell or somebody. They did an investigation of our investigation, which is absurd. These people, Bob Schaefer never called me or any of the 10 p.m. people and asked for videos. Didn't call Jim Schnabel. I don't think he called Dr. Lynn Katai. I don't even know how you get her numbers. So anyway, they did an investigation of our investigation and said we're going with the kid who looked through the telescope. Then they tell us eyewitness testimony isn't credible, but we're going with the kid with the well, then if you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, then his testimony isn't any good too. But look at all these people. Look at what I went through on this show tonight. Look at how many people seen a boomerang, a chevron, a flying wing, something the size of a shopping center, flying over a shopping center. People reporting they saw a spaceship. People whose lives were changed. And it wasn't because that there was a refueling operation between Davis Moffett Air Force Base. Something real strange happened that night. And it could have been the end of the cover-up. It could have been the aliens or whatever these intelligence are said, we're ending it tonight. Get everybody and get these big craft and do a parade. Oh, also at 10 p.m., if you read the National UFO Reporting Center, there was a crash on the White Tank Mountains. So somebody thinks a UFO crashed and there were Army Jeeps and it burned, and then Army Jeeps or something drove up the mountain to get it. So was Phoenix Lights about a recovery operation? I think a lot, why did this happen? I know it happened. I think what happened at 8:30 was some alien stuff, something from the future. It wasn't made by people. It didn't roll out of a Tesla plant. It didn't come from Area 51. It didn't come from the Nellis range. We don't have anything that big. That thing is so big that it's a flying airport. Its wings itself are the size of landing strips. We could fit all 5,000 of our nuclear weapons inside of it. So if it's a weapon delivery system, it delivers them all. And there's no point in something like that. That's why we have the B-2 to spread them around. If we're going to bomb a place, you don't bomb one, you bomb a bunch of places. But it's crazy. So the cover-up could have ended. It could have been done by just a bunch of people with cameras, but people were in awe. And when this thing flies around again, it's rarely taped. It doesn't seem to care. It always comes out after 8. There aren't sightings of the boomerangs late at night, typically. Usually there's 2 of them, and they typically have about 10 lights. The lights can undock from the matte black ship and redock in different positions. So the gold orange lights that change shape inside the boomerang themselves are UFOs. So it's actually sort of like an alien flying aircraft carrier. And I think the light in the back is just watching. I don't know. I have no idea why that has a trailing light. Watch the Hudson Valley tape. It's a circle with the trailing light flashing behind it. These are 50-year patterns. The Hudson Valley sighting is the same thing I think the Phoenix Lights boomerang was. This has been around for 50 years. It's not a hologram. I don't think it is. It doesn't make any sense. It's been around for 50 years. It predates hologram technology. So you can kind of rule some of that out. So I don't know. One thing about it's not just the boomerang, the Phoenix Lights. It was a bunch of ships. So when the boomerang flies around and does a sighting and gets captured, it doesn't come with the other stuff that it came 28 years ago. It doesn't come with those 2 huge balls that Bill Greiner saw the size of hot air balloons. Doesn't fly around with that 2-mile-long black triangle. I don't know. We're making progress. I'm glad I'm still around. I showed you all of the Phoenix Lights videos tonight. I showed you other videos that might make you question whether 10 p.m. was flares or not. You can go through, rewind it. I'll fix the crash. We did have a crash. We had a storm blow through right before the podcast happened. We're going to take another look at the sky before we do a final sign-off. This is the 2K dome camera right here. This is the new one with the windshield wiper. The honeymoon with the camera is over, baby. Oh, yeah. I mean, I got this camera, and let's take a look around. I got this camera. I got it from China, and on eBay. And I didn't know if I was going to, when you get something from eBay, you're usually stuck with it. And, Amazon, you can return it. But I didn't know if I liked it, and I like it. I like it. It's very, very powerful. The zoom on this son of a bitch is so powerful that I can see the moons of Jupiter with a dome camera. That plane that's flying around is probably 22 miles out, and I could probably find that on flight radar. The thermal's up. So we have 3, if you're tuning in late, I have 3 thermal cameras that also film in color. And one of them has the one on the far left, a Brady Bunch, UFO Brady Bunch. The thermal one has an auto temperature, so it will record the hottest temperature and the coldest temperature. So the idea is if something comes around, the hot black camera over here is going to hopefully record the temperature of a UFO. So we'll get thermal sensor stuff. So yeah, they're still up and running. Blue, Bruce, hello. I haven't seen you in the podcast. And then we have Clive, all tales. Nobody said. I know one thing, Clive's grandmother would be goddamn proud of what he's done. Man, I can go up till midnight. You know, thermal cameras are kind of fun because UFOs have a hard time hiding in this this middle zone here. Um, they're going to have to do spectral switches where they're switching from, the thermal I think is like 900 nanohertz or something like that, and just above night vision. So they're going to have to do wave shifting. That was something I'm stealing from the Tedesco brothers. They were talking about spectral shift. I think I know what they mean. So let me try and explain that. They were filming an orb that was flying over the ocean. And they had it in thermal, and then I think they had it in color. And the thing shut off the RGB, but they can still see it in thermal. So that means that it shifted from the electromagnetic spectrum out of the RGB, the visible stuff that humans see, into heat only, which is harder to camouflage, but possible because the jellyfish video that Jeremy Corbell released, if you watch that, it actually goes from like hot black to like white hot and almost blends in, but you can kind of see the outline of it. But it changes, how it does is it's changing its temperature to match the temperature of the environment right in front of you. That's a very, very important scientific lesson to watch because it's like we're all like 99 degrees. Imagine I just all of a sudden turned 30 degrees. Be dead probably, but the thermal would watch it go from like hot black into white hot. And that's basically an explanation of what we saw in the jellyfish video. And I think the spectral shifting that you can only see with, I guess, thermal sensors that the Tedesco brothers have picked up on. And they also, one thing I've learned about their radar is they're shooting horizontally and they're shooting vertically. So they're using two. So they're shooting up, and I think he said that they can detect planes at 70,000 feet. But then I'm hearing that this isn't very reliable because it's Doppler and it's X-band. So shit, don't ask me, man. I'm not the expert. I'm putting my little toe in the water for radar, and I fucking slipped and fell all the way in. I still got the ladder to get out of the goddamn pool the storm blew in. So I'm going to wrap up. Yeah, Jimmy Carter saw UFOs. And then they told him what they were, and he bawled. And he cried. Yeah, man, she'd be damn proud. You are what you are because of her. And if you didn't see the Phoenix Lights fly, then you wouldn't have made these films about him for sure, and you wouldn't have made these other films and probably got into this history. But then something happened in her life that changed everything, that steered your life, and all of us kind of where we're at. It's very, very weird because this sighting was a collective sighting with a big percentage of the people in town, maybe 1 in 200 people, were out that night. A lot of people saw it because they walked their dog. some of the, if you watch some of the videos on my channel, there's a guy named Jim Schnabel. He covered me 2 times before the Phoenix Lights. Then he covered me on the Phoenix Lights, and he did mention that he also saw the boomerang. I asked him a while later, I think it was when we were filming the Discovery Channel episode, why didn't you talk about it? He said, because I report. I'm not part of the story. I don't want to get mixed up, because then his integrity would, kind of like what happened with Ross Coulthart. That's a mouthful. He used to be a reporter, but now he's like an embedded UFO journalist. And he's so deep into the Jake Barber thing, he's biased. He's lost his objectivity. And you can't keep it when you go that deep, that Ross has went in that rabbit hole. So Jim Schnabel didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, and so he never really went on and said, I saw the 830 boomerang. He was out walking his dog. And that is just, that's sweet justice, man, because I was warning these guys, the UFOs are right over town. We don't need to go to fucking Mars. They're here. They're right here. And then Phoenix Lights happened. I filmed it too. And Jim keeps covering me. I keep filming stuff. So Jim was one of the good reporters. If my friend Armando is watching, Armando worked with him. And if Jim's still around, Armando, tell him I said hello. All those guys at Fox 10 are gold. Fox 10 did really cool UFO shows. So I learned in town, in Phoenix, I think it's still true to this day. If you're going to go to the media at all, you go to Channel 3, or 5 doesn't really cover stuff, or the main guy is Fox 10, and sometimes ABC Channel 15. Do not go to Channel 12. They will screw you. They will screw you. I did Channel 12 once, and they actually said the words crazy with my name in a sentence. So fuck them. And then my friend sent me, Rich, sent me a news article that some guy did for Channel 12 News. And when they did the news article about him, they had the terminology is loaded. They used the term flying saucer. So you know when they're using flying saucer, it's derogatory language from 50 to 60 years ago. And that's not the proper term now. Politically correct term is UAP. But don't go to Channel 12 locally. So, yeah, I'm going to wrap up. So, I haven't heard anything. If something was going on, I think my phone would blow up. So, I'm not getting any text. Clive isn't getting any text. We got our ear to the ground of what's going on. If it clears up, the experiments that we're doing continue at the hotspot. I have plans to go back there real soon. Clive, I asked Clive, when does that goddamn blue orb video come out? I can't wait for that to come out. That's going to be, I think, one of the best local Phoenix documentaries I've seen, because there's so much footage. There's this, like, the same amount of footage I played tonight is in that, like, hour and 75-minute documentary. It shows that blue orb up close. It's got fucking portals. It's got all kinds of stuff. We're still trying to this day to figure out if it was real, and if it is, it's, I don't know. It's not. It's one of the best blue orb videos I've ever seen, and that's coming out, I think, in a couple of weeks. I want to get Chris on here next. Hopefully, we can work out cell phone issues with him. He's the guy who shot the blue orb video. So, fuck Channel 12. Maybe one of these days I get bored, I'll play that. But this has been a 4-hour-long podcast. I started early because of the rainbow. I played all the Phoenix Lights videos. I played some other videos. Did a little explanation. I think we had some fun. We had a couple of technical problems. We had the entire internet stream here crash, and it reloaded. A few audio problems. With Clive, we'll work it out because we're both film directors and smart people. I want to thank right now BP for that 20 dollar super chat. That goes directly into funding the radar black hole. So with this radar, if and when it gets up and running, you know that you had a piece of that thing erecting up in the sky. So you are funding the radar erection. The next episode, when that comes out on, let's see, that's gonna be a tricky one. Next one's gonna come out on Friday. My goddamn map isn't coming up. It's gonna be about where the hell this radar project is, and moving forward with that, because that's a monumental task. Well, but maybe I'll get some guests on instead of just talking. And then we had another. Alrighty then. I'll get some food. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up. I don't even know if the stream's still working. This is Tom King. This was the Phoenix Lights 2025 live Skywatch. We didn't see anything. We did go through the videos, and we had a lot of fun. We talked to a couple of witnesses, and we went through a bunch of the 8:30 stuff. And I thought I did a decent job to show you that there was something to this event.